marché africain, le marché des Africains. Produire en Afrique, transformer en Afrique et consommer en Afrique. Produisons ce dont nous avons besoin et consommons ce que nous produisons au lieu d'importer. Vivre libre et de vivre libre. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. La patrie ou la mort nous viendront. Tanto que recuerda el mundo, hoy destruida, pero mañana reconstruida. Nos recuerda también en la historia trágica de ese mártir de la revolución del mundo, que no se puede confiar en el imperialismo, pero ni tantico, nada.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, Mulele Mai. Mulele Mai.
Okay, you were speaking of, I have to go with the subtitles. I liked it though. When he said, "No way, we already know you," so we can't keep getting bamboozled by these neo-colonialists. Yes. So Uhuru, I really want to thank Wabuzu for that great performance. I love those shots of SG Luwezi that were in there. I think, man, this video was amazing. So shout out to you, comrade Wabuza. And now we will turn it over to our comrade Ikinge Maele and our chairman Omali Yeshatela for the Comrade of the Year Awards. Uhuru.
Uhuru, comrades. Uhuru, I am Ikinge Maele. Okay, I can't see anyone, so I assume that you're seeing me.
Uhuru,
and I'm the chief. Okay, Chief of Staff in the Office of Chairman Omali Yeshatela. And I'm pleased to share this outstanding program and the nominees, as well as the winners of the Comrade of the Year for 2020 with you. In December 2019, Deputy Chair Onozune Yeshatela put forth an administrative regulation which was approved by Chairman Omali Yeshatela for the APSP Uhuru Movement Acknowledgement and Recognition Program. The policy statement reads, "It is the policy of the Office of the Chairman to recognize individuals for their accomplishments and contributions through a variety of acknowledgement and recognition programs. Acknowledgement and recognition is encouraged through one of our organization-wide programs, and those programs are the Chairman Omali Yeshatela Certificate of Achievement, the Comrade of the Quarter and Outstanding Comrade of the Year, the Movement Unity Award, the Organizational Service Award, the Bold Initiative Award, Chairman Omali Yeshatela Congratulatory Notes, and Departmental and Regional Informal Awards. Each year, a special recognition committee is formed, which has the task of determining who will be the recipient. Nominees are accepted from the various departments and organizations throughout our movement who meet the requirements outlined in the administrative regulation who are not on the National Central Committee. I want to first recognize the comrades of this year's recognition committee. They are Patricia Lumumba, Chiwanizo Luzolo, Abdullah Alexander, James Simpson, Hallie Murray, and Kyle Weiss. This committee had the incredible task of determining who the awardees of the Comrade of the Year for 2020 would be. For the year of 2020, we'll be awarding a comrade from APSP, the African People's Socialist Party, and the African People's Solidarity Committee. Reading from the administrative regulation of the APSP Uhuru Movement Acknowledgement and Recognition Program, the Comrade of the Quarter and Outstanding Comrade of the Year are individuals whose performance demonstrates extraordinary efforts above and beyond the call of duty, should be recognized for their hard work and dedication. Individuals who demonstrate enthusiasm and who promote pride, teamwork, and a positive image throughout the organization should be recognized for their contribution. The Outstanding Comrade of the Year should be recognized as follows. In coordination with the Office of the Chairman, the Outstanding Comrade of the Year will be acknowledged at an Uhuru event sponsored by one of the Uhuru organizations, where he or she will be presented with a plaque, a $100 gift certificate, recognition on the Burning Spear newspaper and the Uhuru News website and all other organization websites, and recognition on the scroll of winner's plaque in the Uhuru House. If you have been following our announcements for this plenary on social media, you have been able to see these comrades and read about the contributions that they have made. And if you haven't, let's meet them now and hear what has been said about them and who nominated them. Uhuru. The nominees for the Marcus Garvey Comrade of the Year are, and as you hear your name, please turn on your video, Kundai Bajikikai. Kundai is Director of Information and Education, the NTU Director and Marketing Director of Zenzele Consignment. She was nominated by the All African Peoples Development and Empowerment Project Director, Dr. Aisha Fields, and here's what she had to say. Some of what she had to say. I'm honored to nominate Kundai Bajikikai as the Uhuru Movement Comrade of the Year. I believe this award was made for a comrade such as Kundai, who in all my time in the party has been one of the most impressive I have ever seen. Kundai joined APDEP in 2017 during the APDEP 10th year anniversary convention in Huntsville, Alabama. She often reminds me that it was the chairman's keynote address at that conference that forever changed her life, causing her to realize that she had to dedicate herself to the African Revolution. Shortly after joining APDEP, Kundai became a member of the party and served as the Southern Regional Secretary. In 2019, Kundai was assigned to APDEP, where she has worked directly under my leadership ever since. Uhuru. Next, we have Comrade Matsumela Odom. Please turn on your video. Who is the Vice President and Membership Coordinator. He's a member of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement Executive Committee, and he was nominated by President Kalambaye and Dinette. And here's some about Comrade Matsumela. I am nominating Matsumela Odom for Comrade of the Year. I have seen this comrade grow into an exceptional revolutionary leader of NPDUM and the Uhuru movement by carrying out party mandates, becoming the first vice president of NPDUM while developing membership subcommittee, creating many new NPDUM programs, and developing strategies to bring African internationalism to the masses. Matsumela continues to submit his will to the will of the party leadership as he learns and asserts his leadership in NPDUM. Coming out of last year's plenary, Matsumela's first responsibility was Africans Charged Genocide campaign. He built a virtual ACG tour by having themed webinars and special guests to expose that everything that Africans face is genocide. Next, we have Comrade Zakile Makondo. I'm not sure if Comrade Zakile is with us. If you are, please turn your video on. Who is in Occupied Azania. He is the National NPDUM President in Occupied Azania. He was nominated by Comrade Chairman Tafari Mugeri. I am nominating Comrade Zakile Makondo for Comrade of the Year. Comrade Makondo, President of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in NPDUM, South Africa, has been in our ranks for a number of years now. Ever since the comrade has made absolutely obvious his wholehearted commitment to African internationalism and the party as the only solution we have to advancing the African Revolution to its final conclusion of total independence, African freedom and socialism under the leadership of the African working class. This comrade has demonstrated in very practical ways his loyalty to the party and his desire to see it occupying all spaces. Uhuru. Next, we have Siali Moyenda. Siali is the Uhuru Foods and Pies Outreach Coordinator, Baker, and Wholesale Manager. He was nominated by Bakari Olatunji and Maureen Wagner. Siali, you turn on your camera. And a little bit about Siali that was written. Siali Moyenda has been an important contributor to the Uhuru movement for decades in Oakland, California. He is well known for making the best looking Uhuru Foods crab cakes, as well as his own crocheted creations found on the streets and at party congresses. Siali brilliantly articulates and carries out the party's strategy for economic development in the hands of the working class under the leadership of the party. At the drop of a hat, Siali can passionately tell you how significant Uhuru Foods and Pies is and what it means to African people. He doesn't need a script or a prompt. He lives his understanding in his work. Uhuru. Next is Comrade Nzei Uzoma Semekai Masimba, who is nominated by Deputy Chair Onezane Yeshitela and Malika Njiwi. A little bit about Comrade Nzei. Deputy Chair Onezade writes, I present this narrative to nominate Nzei Uzoma Semekai Masimba for the African People's Socialist Party Comrade of the Year for 2020. This past year, Nzei wore many hats for the office of the Deputy Chair. Nzei came into the party with a wealth of skills, and she wasted no time putting them down in the party. Nzei is this quiet storm. When it hits, you wonder where it came from. Nzei is that powerful whirlwind. At the time Nzei came into the party, I was her sponsor and direct leadership. Throughout her 6-month sponsorship, it was clear to me that she was determined to find her place in the movement and become a leader in her own right, not just in name, but in practice. Comrade Nzei is always on the cutting edge of technology, says Malika. Keeps abreast of current news and affairs, not only the local events, but international. A serious problem solver. Nzei doesn't wait to be told what's next. She always strives to take things beyond what is called for. Uhuru. Next is Comrade Alfred Hutley. Alfred is in Uhuru Foods, Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles sales coordinator, and he was nominated by Comrade Allison Haney. Comrade Allison says about Ali Hutley has been the sales and operations coordinator at Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles Philadelphia for the past 2 years. I've had the honor of working with Ali as his manager since he joined Uhuru Furniture team 6 years ago. The reason I'm nominating him for Comrade of the Year is that Ali has totally transformed this year and has emerged as a powerful and critical leader in one of the party's historic economic development, anti-colonial dual power institutions. This was the year when Uhuru Furniture was challenged to close on March 17th due to the colonial virus and had to navigate surviving and developing with new strategies under the brilliant leadership of Deputy Chair Onezane Yeshitela and the People's War Commission, led by the chairman and Dr. Aisha Fields. Uhuru. Next is Comrade Raya Fogarty. Comrade Raya is the Donor Recognition, Retention, and Appreciation Team Chair. She's in the Office of the Deputy Chair and the, Africa's 1 Billion Strong Donor Campaign. She was nominated by Kitty Riley and Janice Kant. And this is what they said of Raya. Raya Fogarty met the African People's Socialist Party at the first tribunal for reparations to African people in Brooklyn, New York in 1982. Since then, Raya has been known for her deep love for the party and fierce fighting stance of solidarity with the African Revolution. Chairman Omali Yeshitela often recalls that Raya was his secretary when he led the Oakland NPDUM branch and built it to 125 members. Trained under the leadership of the chairman, Raya always carries out key party core organizing principles, and they are and I quote, "The people are everything and no one falls through the cracks." In all of her areas of work, Raya has led with these principles. Uhuru. Next is Leah Fifield, who is the Reparation Challenge Coordinator and local USM Chair, Minneapolis. She was nominated by Jesse Neville and Casey Mackey, and here's what they had to say. We are nominating Leah Fifield, a dynamic leader of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. For the past 2 years, she has been organizing a model reparations challenge as part of USM's Reparations Challenge campaign that has consistently raised hundreds of dollars a month. Leah built the committee to capacity, recruiting other key members into the committee positions and training them with patience, care, and political education. Especially when USM experienced an uptick of recruits following the George Floyd uprising, Leah worked diligently to prevent anyone from falling through the cracks, taking responsibility to bring in, develop, and give roles to new people eager to do the work for reparations. She has transformed into a bold African internationalist, always fighting to recruit and build the reparations movement. Leah attends every study and webinar, including the chairman's weekly studies, and strives to sharpen and deepen her own internalization and articulation of the line. We have Wendy Craig, who is the project manager, the APDF grants and on the APEDF grants and relief team, and Uhuru Foods and Pies manager in the Department of APEDF grants and on the grants and relief team, and she was nominated by Maureen Wagner and Janice Camp. And here's what they had to say. Black Power Blueprint Grants team starting in May 2019. In March of 2020, when the colonial virus hit, the party formed the People's War Commission. All party economic institutions were temporarily shut down. Deputy Chair called on the grants team to take advantage of all possible relief funding for the institutions and for individuals in the movement, many of whom were now out of work. Wendy stepped up to the challenge. She became recognized as one of the best project managers in the movement. Wendy created documents and highly organized systems to keep the grants team on top of all opportunities, applications, and submissions as we met daily at 7:30 a.m., her time for months. Uhuru. Next is Monica Chiotti. Unfortunately, Monica was not able to be with us today. However, if you've been following us on social media, and those of you who know Comrade Monica are familiar with her, Monica is the Oakland Uhuru Foods and Pies production manager, and she was nominated by Amanda Carlozzi. And here's what Amanda had to say. I'm nominating Monica Chiotti for Comrade of the Year because of her stance as a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement National Steering Committee as its coordinator of the Birthdays for Reparations campaign, and in her local work with USM Portland. Monica has proven to be a hardworking, dedicated, enthusiastic, and well-organized leader. Monica has coordinated the Birthdays for Reparations campaign for over a year. Monica unhesitatingly said yes when asked to coordinate this major reparations venue stream of USM, which is responsible for a substantial portion of USM's annual pledge of material solidarity to the Uhuru movement. Monica has built a committee with a givebacks coordinator, project director, and outreach coordinator, which meets every week on Friday nights to move forward this campaign. Monica gives leadership to the regional strategy within USM, mobilizing the regional leaders to reach out to members and contacts in their region in order to get them signed up for the birthday fundraisers. Monica has also hosted mass meetings with guest speakers like Chairwoman Penny Hess, and presiding over the revamping of the birthday reparations page of the USM website with a beautiful new logo. Uhuru. Next is Janine Griswold, who is the sales and donations manager at Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles, Oakland, in the office of the deputy chair. And she was nominated by Stephanie Miller And this is what Stephanie had to say. Since March 2020, Janine Griswold has been a driving force under the brilliant leadership of the Deputy Chair and the People's War Commission, keeping Uhuru Furniture in Oakland open throughout this period of the colonial virus. After the furniture stores closed due to COVID, Deputy Chair immediately created a plan to go to the people, to do what we could for our employees, volunteers, and customers. And at the same time, the Oakland store manager was out of work with an injury. Janine represented the Oakland Uhuru Furniture Store single-handedly in the national ad hoc leadership body that led Uhuru Furniture through the closure and reopening under Deputy Chair Ona Dene's leadership. As the second cadre in the Oakland store, she assumed the role of leadership without a moment's hesitation, handling all the challenges with great political and practical confidence. Janine dove into the work campaign style, putting all the leadership and skills she has developed over her 29 years in the African People's Solidarity Committee to work. Phone banking, organizing social media, emails, banner, websites, and so much more. Wow, Uhuru comrades. So I can't see everybody, so hopefully everyone can see all of our nominees for the Comrade of the Year for 2020. Again, I want to appreciate our amazing recognition committee. They had a really tough job. These are some outstanding comrades, and I want to salute all of you and appreciate every one of you for the work that you've done. I'm not sure how much time I have. Do we have more time? I know we have more time, because now I'd like to ask Chairman Omali Yeshitela if you could please let us know who our winners are. Can't see anybody, so I don't know if you're on or not.
Uhuru comrades, Uhuru. What an extraordinary group of forces that we have here. It just speaks volumes about the kind of talent and enthusiasm and the kind of contributions that people are making to our party and to our revolution. So let's look at the Marcus Garvey Comrade of the Year in terms of the African People's Socialist Party. I want to announce that this person who has been chosen by the committee, and I'm sure highly appreciated by every member of the party and the Uhuru movement. And I'm sure by now everybody's tired of me talking and wants me to say who the hell it is. So I want to hold up this plaque and indicate that the person selected as the Marcus Garvey Comrade of the Year in the party is Nze Uzuma Simukai Masimba. And here.
Woo! All right, Nze, Uhuru! Uhuru!
That's amazing.
The awards committee was not confined to Comrade Masimba. It was not a real operation like the so-called U.S. democracy. I want to announce that from the Solidarity Movement, we also have a winner. And in this case as well, it's extraordinary because there are so many great. And I want to announce that the winner of the Marcus Garvey Comrade of the Year award from the Solidarity Movement, from the African People's Solidarity Committee, in appreciation and recognition of tireless efforts to advance the liberation of African people, the African People's Socialist Party USA presents this award to Raya Fogarty for the year.
Uhuru!
Of course, we can allow people an opportunity, each of you. First, Comrade Nze, I don't know if you would like to say anything, and then following that, Comrade Raya Uhuru.
You know what, Chairman, I feel really honored and I really appreciate this. I don't even know if it really even set in that. I mean, like I knew that I was up for the award, but it's just been so much going on that I really didn't have a chance to think about like what I would say. But I feel honored. I just being in the work, I said it earlier, but just it has really shown me who I am. And I feel like, you know, I can fight for my freedom and it's okay. And I can speak up and I can do what I need to do. And I feel that what I contribute is going to something that's going to liberate our people. So I just feel really honored and I appreciate this award. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Yeah, I discovered who you could be as well, Comrade Zay. It's been incredible watching you develop to this point. And I want to now ask Comrade Raya, my secretary, if there's anything she wants to say following this award.
Uhuru, I tried to write some things, you know, I just want, you know, and I think of songs a lot when I want to say something, but I just really want to salute all the nominees profoundly. And there are a few words and that I would say. I know I'm supposed to be fast and I'm self-critical. But you know, the greatest love is right here for the African People's Socialist Party, the chairman is unconditional. To have the greatest honor at the age of 20, to hear the raw, bare truth for the first time in my life. You know, and that as a white person who grew up in Kirkwood, Missouri, the way they teach you lies and it's imposed on everyone, that you know it's not right. And there's millions of white kids and other white people just like me that are here and in the world who, you know, our whole existence is based on the backs and blood of African people on stolen indigenous lands, and that there is a way that we can take all the rage and anger that imperialism and parasitic white power and white culture imposed on everyone, take it out on the real root through African internationalism, that colonialism is the problem, and that our work, our revolutionary work as white people is reparations, unleash. And I can say that the African working class has been my leadership for the majority of my life, and that will never change. I would never abandon. Chairman Omali Yeshitela is the greatest leader of all time, and that that's my flag. That's our flag. I pledge allegiance to the red, black, and green, with the red star right in the middle. Uhuru forever. I'm sorry I took too long. There's more I could say, but revolutionary reparations to the African Revolution, victory is now. And I am so greatly humbled and honored and Thank you. And salute
Uhuru,
to
2
Uhuru.
minutes.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you.
Uhuru, comrades. I met Comrade Raya 39 years ago in New York when we were building for the World Tribunal on Reparations for African people. And that's, I think, when she came into the work. And I remember the one time that Comrade Raya had me upset because she was late for a meeting that we were supposed to be having, and only to find out that the reason she was late is because on her way to the meeting, she saw police who had ganged up and were beating this Puerto Rican, and she jumped on the police. And they arrested her. This is testimony to the kind of loyalty and the kind of unity that African internationalism has brought into the struggle and has given North Americans or white people, Europeans. It's an extraordinary opportunity to join, to rejoin, to join humanity, to abandon their isolation from the rest of humanity through hoarding stolen wealth and stolen lives and things like this. And Raya answered the call that has to be made, as opposed to people who wanted to sugarcoat the relationship that Africans have to the colonizer, afraid to say this is the reality, because doing so, we were told, would alienate our so-called white allies. And the party understood a long time ago that we don't have any white allies who cannot stand up and engage in a form of self-criticism, such as what Comrade Raya and what the African People's Solidarity Movement and Uhuru Solidarity Movement have been involved in. And that white people cannot correct their behavior unless profoundly sharp and serious criticism is made of that behavior. You can't sugarcoat it. And you can't also hide it and disguise it and characterize it as something else through various kinds of superstitions having to deal with the supposed fact that white people are mutations or that they are the devil and other kinds of things like that. There's a scientific explanation for the behavior of white people in the African People's Socialist Party. We've discovered that and we know what it is. And so we give this opportunity for white people to become a part of this revolutionary project, and Raya heard the call. And as she said, she was about 20 years old with a multicolored Mohawk haircut in New York when we met. And she has been a loyal force since that time, has worked awardees for this plaques that you've just acquired. The Marcus Garvey Comrade of the Year Award, Comrades Nzei and Comrade Raya. Uhuru, we are winning.
I just wanted to salute Comrade Nzei, who is absolutely incredible. I mean, badass internationalist African working class, and it's such an honor to work under your leadership in the Office of Deputy Chair.
Right. Congratulations to you too.
Uhuru, everybody. So let's get another round of applause for such amazing and deserving comrades. Comrade Nzei and also Comrade Raya. So I know I can't hear everybody, but the ones that I can hear, let me hear a round of applause, some hand claps, and salute really to the leadership and to what Chairman talks about in his in his dissertation and in his report this year, really the cadrification the codification of members in the party. We really see that represented in the leadership, in the work of comrades like Raya, but also comrades like Nzei, who really have set the standard for what it means to be a newer member in the African People's Socialist Party for comrades like myself. So I want to once again give them a round of applause. Now, we will return to our chairman, Omali Yeshitela, who will continue to read his powerful political report.
Uhuru, comrades. APDEP's reinvigoration of its agricultural development program with a designated coordinator is part of our party's emergent African nation state. APDEP Director Aisha Fields must consider the APDEP work as part of the process of developing a post-colonial independent African government, the Ministry of Development and Empowerment. This is Marcus Garvey's Black Cross Nurses on Steroids. An excerpt from a recent report to the party's plenary organizing committee by Comrade Aisha Fields in preparation for our 2021 plenary speaks volumes to the development of our party and our growing capacity to govern the post-colonial African world this plenary is helping to achieve. And I'm quoting, this is Comrade Aisha Fields. This is the work that the African People's Socialist Party, the African Socialist International, and the organizations that make up the Uhuru movement have been doing for more than 50 years. It is the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party in this era of COVID-19 that is providing the leadership that is not only giving us direction and hope, but that is building the dual power programs and institutions that are laying the foundation of the independence that we will one day enjoy. It is the All African People's Development and Empowerment Project under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party that is calling on and winning African doctors, nurses, mental health workers, scientists, teachers, and other skilled people to contribute our skills toward the African liberation movement, toward building a united socialist Africa, a united Africa that with control of its vast natural and human resources would train the doctors, the nurses, build the scientific institutions, create the medicines and protocols, make the PPE, initiate the public health measures, and yes, perhaps even develop the vaccines that would ensure the health and safety of African people around the world. We have the opportunity today to join the movement that is changing the world, to join a process of building this positive future for African people, to join the organization, the movement actively building our own independent capacity to meet the healthcare needs of our people as APDEP has done through our international COVID-19 telehealth program, as we have done with our work to respond to the Ebola epidemic in Sierra Leone in 2014, as we have done in response to the need for African people to organize our skills to build clean water systems and community garden healthcare, community healthcare workers programs, maternity centers, community farms and gardens, youth and adult educational programs, and more, as a part of the process of building our own Black power that negates the influence and the necessity of the colonizers' institutions in our lives, unquote. This work cannot be confused with the reformist charity work that usually characterizes such efforts as those undertaken by APDEP. This is revolutionary anti-colonial work that is conscious of itself as a tool to defeat colonialism, to get it out of our lives, even when it pretends to bring us healthcare relief on this foreign and alien domination. This is where the party has brought our fight. This is where the party has brought our fight to at this moment, opening the door to all African patriots to take part in our liberation under the leadership of the African working class organized in its own party for the first time in our history. This is obviously something that is distinguished from the charity work that we see some organizations doing, or the so-called solidarity work that some forces do. It is the struggle by African people ourselves to liberate ourselves, to actually create the structures and processes and departments of government that are necessary for post-colonial Africa. It is recognition, it is acknowledgement, it is anticipation, it is participation in the process to end colonialism, to end it, and to initiate self-government by African people. And ANWO is building powerful African internationalist women leaders. The African National Women's Organization, led by its president, Yejide Oramila, is advancing. ANWO is implementing remarkable programs through powerful, creative African internationalist women leadership. ANWO leaders have developed an innovative plans of action and active prototype for African childcare collectives designed to grow to include colonized African communities globally. The anti-colonial energy and leadership of African women are becoming increasingly concentrated in ANWO through the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party of the dispersed African nation. This plenary will hear of ANWO's growing competency in recruiting African women, its preparation for its upcoming Black Women's Convention, its cadre school, and advancement of decolonize its economic development arm. This improvement of ANWO's internal organization promises more recruitment, and its increased political work boosts the influence of African internationalism as an ideology and the party as its physical, material representation in life. ANWO's report to this plenary would doubtlessly forward all our efforts to overturn the historical process of the theft of African children by individual colonizers and institutions of the colonial state. A main campaign of ANWO is the fight to arrest the misleadingly named Child Protective Services, the main agency used by governments in the US and England to take and so-called protect our African children from their African mothers and our African communities. The Arrest CPS campaign will achieve greater definition with this plenary. Likewise, more of our people will be won to participate in ANWO's work around the issue of the growing number of African women who are being trapped in the colonial prisons and the increasing likelihood of more children being thrust into the clutches of the vicious colonialist child stealing protective services agency. With the leadership provided by our movement, we can anticipate the time when ANWO will lead thousands of colonized African women in massive demonstrations at prison gates and colonial child theft agencies, demanding the release of our people, men, women, and children. Not only will this be a fatal development for the continuation of colonial capitalist domination of African people, it will also represent a turning point in the internal development of our movement, representing a real move to power in the hands of African women in our post-colonial liberated society. Combined with the history and current makeup of the leadership of our party, the actual programs and point 9 of our 14-point working platform, ANWO's contribution to the second plenary of the 7th Congress will help to expose the reality that while opposed to bourgeois feminism, our party is the party of African women. It is the definition of what genuine African women's liberation looks like. African internationalism is African women's liberation for all to see and experience. NPDUM advances as a genuine force for mobilizing and leading the African masses and working class. Not to be outdone, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, NPDUM, led by its president Kalambai Andanet, is also holding fast to its resolutions and mandates from our 7th Party Congress. It has increased its effectiveness in winning popular support for its reparations campaign from individuals, Africans to whom it is providing education around the issues, and from whom it is developing the army of African people and workers to ultimately seize reparations regardless of the permission of colonial capitalist corporations and then their state hirelings. Let me say that again, because this is important, because we in the African People's Socialist Party, like I said, we are not a reparations organization as such. We are a revolutionary organization that recognizes that reparations is a function of the revolution. And so we say, not to be outdone, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, INPDUM, led by its President Kalambayi Andanet, is also holding fast to its resolutions and mandates from our 7th Party Congress. It has increased its effectiveness in winning popular support for its reparations campaign from individual Africans to whom it is providing education around the issue and from whom it is developing the army of African people and workers to ultimately seize reparations regardless of the permission of colonial capitalist corporations and their state hirelings. INPDUM has grown its internal organizational strength to allow President Kalambayi to take its 7th Congress mandate directly to the people, and a powerful electoral political campaign for a seat on the Board of Aldermen in St. Louis, Missouri, the Midwest region's headquarters and location of some of our most critical political and economic work. Comrade President Kalambayi instituted the office of INPDUM Vice President that allowed Masamela Odom to act in her stead during the electoral political campaign that, along with that of Comrade T'Challa Masimba in an adjoining North St. Louis Administrative District or ward, is shaking the city's political foundation, providing the first ever working class intervention into the electoral arena to fight neo-colonialism in the history of St. Louis elections. The International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement growing anti-genocide, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement's growing anti-genocide petition and reparations campaigns are winning support for our strategic efforts to diplomatically encircle and isolate the US internationally. It is doing even more to pull masses of Africans into making active demands for reparations under INPDUM's leadership, another strategic thrust by our party to win liberation, African unity, African unification, and socialism. And I just want to say, departing just briefly from the text, we say the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement growing anti-genocide petition and reparations campaigns are winning support for our strategic efforts to diplomatically encircle and isolate the United States internationally. This is a strategic thrust. This is a strategic effort. This is part of the strategy for our liberation. It is to encircle diplomatically the United States in the international arena. It is to put forward this struggle for the liberation of our people, the end of colonialism, not just winning friends in the so-called international community by having people saying that they like Black people or they feel sorry or they support African people and get this person out of prison or that person out of prison, all of which is very important. But this is something that that's designed to encircle and isolate the United States internationally. It is to take away from the United States this ability to walk across the planet Earth, to glide across the planet Earth, pretending how it's supporting democracy in all these other places, killing and wiping out whole communities and peoples and movements and organizations who won't carry out the will of US imperialism. We are saying that now we are arming other people around the world to be able to unite with the struggle of African people inside the United States. And collectively, we begin this process of diplomatically encircling and isolating the United States internationally. So yeah, everybody had an opportunity to see what happened on January 6th, when masses of white settlers, dissatisfied with the situation of white people in the world and inside the United States, attacked the government of the United States in terms of its legislative body on January 6th. And people saw that. And then people were able to say, wow, the United States that further, not just recognizing that the US is an anti-democratic entity that has this huge contradiction inside the country existing between white settlers from different political specters. But what we want to show is that beyond that, you have a responsibility to unite with the struggle of African people and other colonial and subject people inside the United States. This contributes to the encirclement, the diplomatic encirclement and isolation of the United States in the international arena. That's what we're doing. So we said that It is doing even more to put masses of Africans into making active demands for reparations under NPDUM's leadership. Another strategic thrust by our party to win liberation, African unification, and socialism. The growing and demonstrated organizational coherence reflected in its International Executive Committee and its complex division of labor is a further indication that NPDUM has truly arrived as a genuine force for mobilizing and leading the African masses and working class to African internationalist conclusions and organizations under the leadership of the African Working Class Vanguard Party. The growing success of NPDUM is further evidence of the increasing cadrification of our party that this plenary will exemplify. We have spoken of this before, but notwithstanding the contradiction within NPDUM, we have experienced a near extraordinary development of party membership assigned to lead this organization. This includes most of its leaders who came into this work without any meaningful political experience. Comrade Kalambayi, NPDUM's president, is the outstanding example of this cadrification, this development. The growth of cadre is key to the success of our party. It is party cadre who constitute the foundation of our organization and guarantee our advancement in every arena. It is cadre who we can expect to provide the leadership of the party's mass organizations that represent our deep connection with our people. All party members aspire to become cadre, the best, most dedicated and ideologically sound members of the party, who can be relied on to organize, lead, and fill the ranks of our mass organizations to give them continuity and keep them on task to realize the anti-colonial mission of the party. NPDUM's plenary report will reveal the fact that the cadre development is alive and well in this area of mass work. I expect this kind of work with growing reliance on capable cadre participation will become the template for our party work in the near future. It is already true that the party's work in occupied Tanzania or South Africa relies on recruitment directly into our mass organization, especially NPDUM, as a means of guaranteeing that all our work occurs under the leadership of cadre, who have the responsibility of leading mass work and providing the line of development from the mass organizations into the ranks of the party proper. I will not surrender to redundancy here by extolling every aspect of President Kalambayi's journey of becoming cadre, but she has overcome most obstacles, moving beyond organizational inexperience, political ignorance, and related fears. This comrade, a working class mother of 2 young daughters, exemplifies the potential of the African working class in general and African working class women in particular. She has fought to build NPDUM as the revolutionary mass anti-colonial organization needed by our revolution. Indeed, she is becoming an international leader of our forcibly dispersed national liberation movement. She is doing this while contending with all the sometimes desperate colonial contradiction that intrude into the communities and homes of our families and people in our daily lives. The confidence Comrade President Kalambayi exudes as a leader of our party belies the predictions implicit in our colonial domination. The colonially imposed poverty and political ignorance enhanced by philosophical obscurantism taught in the churches of the African poor, whose role it is to prevent ideological growth, has succumbed to the power of African internationalism possessed by the African working class through the leadership of President Kalambayi. Comrade President Kalambayi will make her report to our plenary. But what is already clear is that NPDUM, under her leadership, like other mass organizations, is bringing an increased number of Africans, many of them militants, most of them conscious, under the leadership of our party of professional revolutionaries. Our party beat back the imperialist left with the formation of the African People's Solidarity Committee, further encircling the US politically and extending our struggle for African liberation, unification, and socialism into the domicile of our oppressors. The African People's Socialist Party's Solidarity Front continues to grow by leaps and bounds, further encircling the US politically and extending our struggle for African liberation, unification, and socialism into the domicile of our oppressors, the African People's Socialist Party's Solidarity Front continues to grow by leaps and bounds. Through our Solidarity Front, the party has clearly assumed near complete leadership of a revived revolutionary movement once left for dead on the counterinsurgent battlefield of the 1960s in Africa and abroad. Our Uhuru movement has carried our struggle far beyond the depths of military defeat that undermined the entire revolutionary project of the US and had negative strategic implications for the worldwide anti-colonial revolution of the oppressed for socialism. The party's 1976 establishment of our Solidarity Front in the form of the African People's Solidarity Committee overcame the attempted isolation of the militarily defeated African Revolution. We beat back the colonial white left that had carried out a radical imperialist post-military ideological assault on the African Revolution globally. The African People's Solidarity Committee became a material component of the ideological war led by our party against the white opportunism, sometimes called communism, liberalism, and a variety of other terms determined to obscure its counter-revolutionary opportunist essence. Over the years of ideological and political struggle, the party has not only neutralized the ideological imperialist intervention in our struggle, we have also created the template for principled revolutionary political activity by so-called left colonialists. In so doing, we have again unleashed the leadership of the African Revolution in the struggle to defeat imperialism once and for all. Reports to our 2021 plenary will show that our Solidarity Front is active and has members in more than 30 states and 150 cities within the US and a growing presence in Europe. We have plans to branch out in Europe and South Africa where there is a meaningful European presence. Within the US, we have held dozens of demonstrations in a number of cities at the office of Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase as part of the struggle for African self-reliance and self-determination. This work exemplifies the fact that although our party is now and has been historically deeply engaged in reparations work, we are not a reparations organization as such. The report from our Solidarity Front helped to clarify this point. For our party, the struggle for reparations is a function of the revolution. Our struggle is not to create well-fed slaves, but to end the system of slavery altogether. The party's demand for reparations is designed to advance the objective and not create a more comfortable place on the plantation as inferred by many other so-called reparations efforts. In other arenas and among the masses of whites or colonizers, we have brought anti-colonial political and ideological education directly tied to concrete anti-colonial programs that many have been wanting to support or join. We have been able to provide white people, the colonizer, a real opportunity to engage in genuine class struggle and to end the self-imposed isolation of Europeans from the rest of the world that results from parasitism through attachment to the colonial capitalist ruling class. Through the party's Solidarity Front, whites are finally allowed to engage in struggle that is directly tied to the fight against colonialism, the pedestal upon which all capitalist activity occurs and where all class struggle is centered in the real world. Through this work, we have provided the method for whites to fight to overthrow their ruling class by uniting under our leadership. Reparations work under these circumstances provides the primary method through which colonizers can participate in genuine class struggle to overturn the hated colonial capitalist system. This is how the struggle for reparations is a function of the anti-colonialist capitalist revolution, because it is a function of the revolution. Many of the reparations movement have been unable to recognize its devastating power. The party's solidarity movement, solidarity reparations work is the power of the African Revolution in whiteface. Most reparations activity is not concerned with overturning the system or with revolution. This allows unscientific race nationalism to impair the vision of activists whose strategy revolves solely around winning Africans to secure more money or other resources from governments and corporations. In the meantime, the process of winning the African Revolution, our party, in the meantime, in the process of winning the African Revolution, our party has ceaselessly battered the resistance to reparation in 1,000 different ways, including our Solidarity Front. We are actually winning reparations. We are actually winning reparations as part of the process of undermining colonialism and achieving liberation and socialism. The road to socialism is painted black globally. The real class struggle is concentrated in the struggle against colonialism, led by the colonized ourselves. The colonizers who work under the leadership of the colonized and revolutionary African working class, under the leadership of the advanced detachment, are the only colonizers, or whites, if you will, who are genuinely engaged in class struggle to overthrow the capitalist system, which rests on the foundation of global colonialism. Now the Solidarity Front that includes the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, USM, the mass formation of APSC is working to build actual branches in the cities and countries where a party is located and beyond. The plenary report from our Solidarity Front will address this activity and plans more extensively and in greater detail, but there are some conclusions we can already draw. Our party has fought through the superstition regarding white people and answered the question, what about the white people? With science that will contribute to our liberation through defeat of our national oppressor and class enemy. We have also learned that all people want leadership during these perilous times of imperialist crisis. Among them are masses of white people, colonizers. The correctness of our ideology and political line continues to provide the necessary leadership for all people. And it is our responsibility to provide the leadership to a successful conclusion to the benefit of Africa and all oppressed, exploited, colonized, and toiling masses of the world. Our leadership must include the party's success in fighting for and capturing power within current US borders of the US, including behind enemy lines, as a most strategic component of the liberation and unification of Africa and Africans worldwide. Leftist colonizers are generally contemptuous of whites who do not fit into neat categories of liberalism, trade unionism, or some other safe political designation. This is not just true. I'm departing from the text. This is not just true of leftist colonizers. Sometimes leftist would-be colonizers, Africans who are colonized. These are the African petty bourgeois intellectuals. They have the same contempt for these whites, and they look at liberalism, trade, various categories of liberalism, trade unionism, or some other safe political designation for the future. This leaves huge swaths of colonizers, many totally fed up with the political status quo. No choice but the camp of colonialist demagogues such as Donald Trump or others. Trump, Sanders, and their ilk appear to their white colonizer supporters to be fighting against the system itself. This is the system whose crisis drives, and at the same time is driven by the crisis causing the colonizer population to unprecedented levels of distrust and dissatisfaction. It is the system that they distrust. However, the leftist colonizers are incapable of attacking the system, since this requires an active participation in overthrowing colonialism, being fought against by the leadership of Africans and others in the US and the world. And we say, however, the leftist colonizers are incapable of attacking the system, since this requires an active participation in overthrowing the colonialism being fought against by the leadership of Africans and others in the US and the world. It is this attempt by the colonizer left to have and eat their cake at the same time that makes them ineffective as opponents of the system, and at the same time supporters of the system that is based on colonialism. Leftist colonizers prefer to intervene as leaders in the struggle of the colonized, becoming another colonial force contending with our party for leadership of our revolution. They generally deny the existence of domestic colonialism because this, by definition, undermines their opportunistic aims. To define ours as a struggle against racism or to diminish our national identity as with false concepts like multinational workers and colonial slogans such as black and white unite and fight are methods used by the ideological imperialists to support colonialism and maintain our colonial status. Colonizer leftists deny their colonizer kith and kin the opportunity to become real socialists by joining in the class struggle, fighting against colonialism under the leadership of the African proletariat. Without a better explanation and direction for their disgust for the status quo, these whites easily fall prey to the Donald Trumps or liberal fake socialists. Our party has changed the significance to the party's leadership of the struggle against colonial capitalism, against parasitic capitalism, by opening up the critical front of the African Revolution within the domain of the colonizers with our Solidarity Front. We have resolved the mystery of how the struggle for liberation and unification of Africa and our people must include the successful struggle against domestic and settler colonialism in the US. Our party needs not separate the front of our fight geographically, except to understand that the central aim of our revolution is the complete, total, absolute liberation and unification of Africa and the dispersed African nation. They are indeed one and the same and can be fought in a non-opportunistic way without sacrificing the interests of the long resisting and suffering indigenous people who are the legitimate custodians of the territorial USA and most of what is considered the so-called Americas. It is on their stolen land that white settlers utilize the stolen labor of our people to create this system of national oppression and class exploitation. We are uniquely positioned to lead the revolution that will result in victory for Africa, Africans, and the indigenous peoples of the Americas, along with the toiling masses of the world. The obvious, staggering advances of our party since our 2018 7th Congress are a consequence of decades of struggle to complete the Black Revolution of the 60s. The African People's Socialist Party has been that continuity providing stable organization of the African working class since our 1972 founding. This is a statement of the work of a revolutionary party that has provided a continuum from one period of struggle to problems of the revolution as they presented themselves in real life. There can be no denying that the history of our party's work over the decades has prepared us for the place revealed in the 2021 plenary reports from party leaders, mass organizations, and departments. It has been the relentless determination to win our liberation, to crush bad tendencies within the party, and to defeat opportunism within our national liberation movement that has forged and tempered the cadre and organizational victories of this plenary, that this plenary reveals. The work of the deputy chair plays a critical role in building African worker state power. Since her ascension to the ranks of party leadership, the deputy chair, Onezene Ishitela, has been driven by my declaration that our party is preparing to govern. She has played the critical role in constructing principles and structures of state power within the party and in our committees and constituent organizations. It is a declaration that she has taken as seriously as any of the mandates and resolutions for her office from our congresses and plenaries. The deputy chair has fought furiously to professionalize every department, committee, and mass organization of our party and the entire Uhuru movement. Literally every report from party leaders and committees to this plenary has been influenced by the intervention of Comrade Deputy Chair Onezene. The deputy chair offers more evidence of the capability of the African working class when free from the constraints of colonial domination. This is something she has demonstrated most of her life as someone who fought through the cruelest expression of US domestic colonialism. 4 of her 5 brothers have been imprisoned at different times, and 3 of them died early deaths from colonially imposed disease. This is an ordinary condition of African working class colonial existence. Nevertheless, the deputy chair found employment in the municipal government of a nearby lily white city during a period when such employment was important for US citizens to demonstrate evidence of equality between the colonized and colonizer in government employment. She would eventually overcome overwhelming obstacles and begin work within the administrative wing of the city's state apparatus. This is where she experienced state power and government as it is actually employed in life. When she was recruited into the party, she found the way to use what she had gained from the colonial power as a means of negating the colonial power. When she was recruited into the party, she found the way to use what she had gained from the colonial power as a means of negating the colonial power. From her office, she has given material form and operationalized my Congress and plenary political reports. The deputy chair set about the task of rewriting our party's organizational manual and writing manuals for some areas of the work that had none. She has introduced the practice of requiring budgets for every department and committee of our party and movement, and demanded the consistent use of plans of action for everything. She has provided the training to make it happen. In a word, the deputy chair has transformed the organizational culture of the party and entire Uhuru movement to reflect the assumption of state power. No more practice based on wishes, sentimentality, or subjective aspirations. The deputy chair long ago inherited the leadership of all the party's economic institutions and enhanced the process for their development and other expansion when during the period of economic slowdown stemming from the COVID-19 colonial pandemic. Her strict standards for no nonsense, problem anticipating and solving meetings are being replicated throughout our party institutions and movement. All this while carrying out and improving upon the Congress and plenary mandates to the dismay of our national oppressors and class enemies and even the remaining slackers within our party and movement. In many ways, this office has contributed to a culture of efficiency and organization increasingly being implemented throughout our party and movement. I can't say enough, comrades, I'm stepping away from the text now, about the intervention of Comrade Deputy Chair Onizene Shatella into the African People's Socialist Party. There was a time when people really attacking the leadership of African women would make the claim, unreasonable claim, that somehow Deputy Chair Onizene Shatella had achieved her status and stature in the party through her relationship to me as her husband. But nothing could be further from the truth. And everybody who's in this party and in this movement knows that is the case. But to say that is a way of attacking the party, but through attacking the party through perceived prejudices that exist, that might exist within the United States and other places about the leadership of African women. That somehow a woman is not supposed to be capable of leading on her own merits. And of course, we have seen petty bourgeois movements and organizations that will raise up the perception of African women leadership in order to meet some kind of bourgeois, petty bourgeois standards. But that's not the case in the African People's Socialist Party. It's from our very inception, from the very beginning of the party, you will find that African women have played critical leading roles in the African People's Socialist Party. Not by the colonial name of Joe Waller. When this one organization, this Pan-Africanist organization, which was the most distinguished Pan-Africanist organization in the US and other places at the time. And they would condescendingly, mockingly refer to the African People's Socialist Party as Joe Waller and the girls. And they would do this because of the significant role that has always been played by African women. Now that organization, what remains of it, talks about having some kind of women's commission, et cetera. But the African People's Socialist Party, while we do have an organization of our Central Committee called a Women's Commission, and we do have an African National Women's Organization, the party itself is comprised, more than half the leaders of the party are women. And women are not just ghettoized into doing what might be called women's work. Women are participating and leading the entire African Revolution, every aspect of the revolution. And this annual, the Women's Commission in the Central Committee is not this place where women's issues are ghettoized, but it is the place that guarantees that carrying out the revolutionary project, that the interests of women will not be ignored. The interests of women, we have this ability to continue to develop and enhance the leadership capacity of African women in pursuit of the African Revolution. And I just wanted to, I think it's really important. So anyway, I'm back to the page 92 to the text. And we say that in a recent report to our plenary committee, Comrade Onizene gave an understated overview of her contribution to the party's internal culture, stemming from a correct interpretation of our theory and my political reports to our plenaries and congresses. And I'm quoting, I immediately began the process of branding the party's economic institutions and enterprises. Let me say this before we go there, because for a time, our party never was without independent economic capacity institution. We've always recognized that. We have gone to the orange groves in Florida and picked oranges to raise money. We have created economic institutions historically since the beginning of the party. And then when the party made the move, especially around 1980 into California, we went there in part with the objective of building a rear area, of building what we used to call the mountaintop, where the revolutionaries could go and recover, rehabilitate themselves, and create institutional presence and stuff like that. This was obviously not a real mountaintop, but we considered the work that we were doing in California as our mountaintop, where we would go into California, we would raise resources that we would bring, because we were based primarily in the South at that time, we would bring those resources back to the South to really promote and produce and carry out our revolutionary projects. We would use those resources that were there in order to create economic independent institutions for the party. We got there and did that work and got engrossed in incredible political work in California, in that area. And we created the African People's Solidarity Committee. We had begun, we created the African People's Solidarity Committee before getting there, but much of the development of that organization happened in California. Tremendous amounts of wealth, value that white people possess in that Northern California in particular. And so we began to take those resources and begin to develop a capacity to take on the work. And we did that. And for a long period of time, it meant that the party, we created this division of labor where the party was able to carry out our political work in part because we had institutionalized the African People's Solidarity Committee, the Solidarity Movement, as the entity that would generate these resources that came into the revolutionary efforts. And what that meant in part was that the members of the party less and less were engaged in economic development work. And it meant that increasingly, many of those skills were concentrated in the solidarity movement, which was all right. Because while we concentrated much of the economic work there, I spent months providing the ideological and practical training of those forces who came into the solidarity movement. So that while what we were doing in part was opening up a whole new front of struggle for the African Revolution. This is part of what allowed the party to survive while other organizations all around us were crashing, because we opened a new front. We opened a front in the bedrooms, in the communities, and living rooms of the colonizers themselves. And so now, over a period of time, some of the institutions that we have were organized by the Solidarity Movement to generate ongoing resources coming to our revolutionary project. But Deputy Chair has taken over all of those things. And by the way, I want to say, for the benefit of those doubting Thomases, they're looking for the holes in his hands or something to that effect. Every institution that the party has is owned by the party. Every institution in the Uhuru movement is owned by the African People's Socialist Party. And when Deputy Chair took over these institutions, we began to see almost immediately rapid development of the economic processes and the economic institutions themselves. She pushed some of the timidity out of the way that was blocking our process. She brought the real participation of the African people into this process so that economic development now has taken an entirely different character. Increasingly and clearly, it is a part of the process of negating the influence of the colonial economy in our communities. I want to say that. So here's what Comrade Deputy Chair said. This is a recent report to our plenary committee. And she says, I immediately began the process of branding the party's economic institutions and enterprises with the goal to build what we have and reproduce the institutions everywhere the party is located. What makes all of these programs and institutions examples of dual power is that they are led by the African People's Socialist Party, planting the seeds of an emerging independent African economy. We transformed the main Uhuru House event room into a Kwaba Hall, a center for African community economic, social, and cultural events. We opened Uhuru Jiko, a community commercial kitchen in St. Petersburg, putting the means of production into the hands of the movement. We consolidated Uhuru Foods and Pies under Black Star Industries, bringing more African leaders and volunteers into participation in the party's economic development work. Uhuru Foods and Pies is moving towards the vision to carry out the party's strategic aim of controlling the means of food production, distribution, and land, unquote. Logically, since the primary work of our Solidarity Front revolves around the issue of reparations, the Office of the Deputy Chair directs much of that work. This represents the direct line of reparations resources being funneled to our party's colonial negating economic development projects. This party-led reparations work, in place since the mid-1980s, allows us to state unequivocally that some reparations are already being voluntarily paid by some colonizers, and some colonizers have been organized by our party to win reparations from sources less likely to voluntarily relinquish them. The global independent African anti-colonial economy is being organized under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party through the Office of Deputy Chair Onozene. She will go into greater detail of the work she and her office have accomplished in carrying out the resolutions and mandates from our 7th Congress. She has already previewed some of that report, expressing deep unity with and understanding of all of our call to carry out our regional strategy. This is what she stated in a preparatory meeting of our 2nd plenary of the 7th Congress, quote, "The regional strategy is the key to us moving forward. We must capture the imagination of the people so they can see what their future looks like. It must go beyond the concept of freedom to the practice of getting free. People cannot eat a concept. We must take back the productive forces of the African nation. We are not talking about survival programs nor do-for-self program. We are talking about building an anti-colonial world where workers will have the power, where the African working class will own and control the means of production," unquote. One of the mandates of the Deputy Chair's office is to build the African National Independence Business Association, ANIBA. ANIBA is being created as an association of African-owned businesses, institutions, enterprises, and entrepreneurs that support African self-determination and economic independence. Its mission is to transfer business skills and experience to existing and/or aspiring Black entrepreneurs that are designed to enhance our community's capacity for achieving economic self-reliance and our struggle for Black national liberation under the leadership of the African working class. According to the Deputy Chair, quote, "ANIBA will help to lead the charge to unite the national interests of all African people globally under the slogan, 'Buy Black Power,' and build a new liberated Africa that benefits Africans and contributes to the creation of an independent, global, self-relying economy that will provide for the well-being of Africans for all eternity," unquote. The Deputy Chair will present a detailed report of the progress and direction of her office that leads all the party's economic work. The history of her participation in our congresses and plenaries guarantees that it will be a thorough and leading report and account. There's one thing, however, that I want to emphasize for her attention in fulfilling her mandates. That is the direction, work, training, and necessary infrastructure for further democratizing participation in the party's economic work as defined in the political report to the 1st plenary of the 7th Congress. And I'm quoting, "The Office of the Deputy Chair must also prepare for the plan for massifying the economic work among the whole party. movement. Let me go. The office of the deputy chair must also prepare for the plan for massifying the economic work among the whole party movement and African population at large. All our party members must become individual advocates and stakeholders for the development of our 50+ self-reliance programs. In every aspect of our work among the African masses, party members must win Africans to take part in the struggle for African self-reliance by supporting our programs and institutions with financial contributions. Party regions must begin the process of winning all our mass committees and local party organizations to train and instruct all our members to win on-the-spot donations from all the people we encounter doing our political work, especially Africans. This is one of the most important methods of explaining the programs and self-reliance to our people, allowing them to become willing accomplices in this aspect of our liberation, winning even more respect from the people because of this economic work. The office must establish the infrastructure, collection and accounting process, and all the protocols to carry out this mandate that can be as important as any other of our economic programs because of its inclusion of individual party members who are not necessarily assigned to any of our economic institutions. This program allows the African masses to become a fundamental part of our economic development, even when they are not physically located in an area of one of our institutions, unquote. Implementation of this mandate will require cooperations with the Department of Agriprop for propaganda among the party and people and mobilizing the spear distributors to help with this mission. It will also require support from the directive organization who will have to unite, mobilize, and provide a training process for all party and movement members for success. The Black is Back Coalition, successful party work in the fight against colonialism. When we took the lead in establishing the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations in 2009, our party was moving to unite as many Africans as possible in opposition to the US colonial wars that were intensifying against the governments and people of the Middle East. We were aware of the implications of the colonial white ruling class selection of an African, Barack Hussein Obama, as the Black face of US imperialist aggression. And I want to say that our work in this area of fighting against the US imperialist wars and things like that did not begin in 2009. Our history has been one of doing that. We created the largest Southern-based anti-war movement in the United States at a particular time in our history. And so we have always been engaged in dealing with this question. So I want to make that point. But this was a critically important time. We said back to the main document. In choosing and facilitating the rise of Obama as its representative, the white rulers succeeded in confusing millions of colonized people around the world. This move neutralized many who would have otherwise fought US imperialist policies except for the possibility of offending the millions of Africans who were demonstrably intoxicated by the thought that through Obama's election, we had ascended to a position of power to end the misery and humiliation of the African nation. Pulling together the Black is Back Coalition in September 2009, 8 months after the formal installation of Obama as the new white power mouthpiece, the party was able to influence the mobilization of an African-led national protest of US wars at Obama's doorstep at the White House, the seat of US government authority. It was the first national mobilization against US imperialism following Obama's selection, and the only African-led demonstration of opposition to US imperialism under its Obama guise. This was an important move that distinguished the coalition's stance from that of a host of opportunists. Some African so-called Marxists and Black nationalists clearly saw in Obama. They saw in Obama's selection by the US rulers evidence of possibilities for themselves and their children to reach the same or similar heights under colonialism. They were salivating at all the while, enthusiastically supporting imperialism under this Black facade. The African People's Socialist Party was able to unite the disparate opponents to this US imperialist war policies with the organizing of the coalition as Black opposition to US white power in the face of a Black face of Obama. The coalition also gave the party an opportunity to bring greater consolidation of the US fight against domestic colonialism under the general leadership of the self-determinist wing of our struggle. From our perspective, this was a major move against the assimilationist tendency that supports imperialism by cajoling our people under the guise of fighting against racism, the ideas in the heads of the colonizer, instead of fighting against colonialism itself. I'm stepping just from the document just for a second here, because there were groups who imitated the party and came into existence, and some who even characterized the first peace, anti-war Black organization in the US, when the organization built years after, came together years after, and borrowing extensively, shamelessly from the definition of the Black is Back coalition. Ours is a revolutionary project. And if you will listen and you will read, you will see that this was not just building a coalition against the war, this was forwarding a revolutionary trajectory for the liberation of our people, for the emancipation of the colonized peoples of the world and of all of the workers of the world. So there are some who still, to this day, do not understand the importance of fighting this opportunist political line manifestation in our midst. However, and when I say this, I'm going back to the original statement. The coalition gave the party an opportunity to bring greater consolidation of the US fight against domestic colonialism under the general leadership of the self-determinist wing of our struggle. From our perspective, this was a major move against the assimilationist tendency that supports imperialism by cajoling our people under the guise of fighting against racism, the ideas in the heads of the colonizer, instead of fighting against colonialism itself. There are some who still, to this day, do not understand the importance of fighting this opportunist political line manifestation in our midst. However, the African People's Socialist Party has always known that the defeat of opportunism is essential if we are to truly achieve African liberation, unification, and socialism. The coalition represents the party's resolve that the colonized African nation must be mobilized against our national oppression under the leadership of the African working class. This is the only guarantee that national liberation achieves the emancipation and ascendancy of the working class to the position of ruling class with the defeat of capitalism, including capitalism with a Black face. The founding of the coalition was a frontal assault on the false dichotomy between the fight for peace and African national liberation. This false dichotomy is prominent in some African petty bourgeois intellectual circles that rave about the US-based African peace movement tradition that has included all except those who fought for African liberation within current US borders. This petty bourgeois tradition includes many for whom the liberation of our people was not necessarily a part of their agendas. For these intellectuals, the fight for peace did not necessarily include the anti-colonial efforts of Africans and the many oppressed peoples within the US and elsewhere to achieve peace through revolution. This is a line that, when pursued, leaves the colonizer in control of the future of the colonially oppressed of the world. Indeed, this is simply another left face of colonialism. And I would remind people of Che Guevara's call for 2-3 many Vietnams, 2-3 many Vietnams.
Une ligne qui, lorsqu'elle est poursuivie, laisse les colonisateurs mettre de l'avenir coloniaux du monde. En fait, c'est simplement un autre visage.
I can hear you, Comrade Louise. And Che Guevara reminded us that he was calling for 2-3 many Vietnams because he knew the struggle in Vietnam, what it was doing to impact US imperialism. And this at the same time, white leftists in the United States were calling for stuff like bring the boys home. US imperialism, they instead was calling for some way to recognize the validity of the struggles of the oppressed or expose the invalidity of their claims as advocates of peace. This is why we introduced slogans such as peace through revolution, and the defeated Black revolution of the 60s, titled Build the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations advanced the struggle for bread, peace, and Black power. The coalition's founding document proclaims in this necessarily long excerpt, quote, "The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations is an organization comprised of otherwise independent groups and institutions that fit within the general anti-imperialist self-determinist tendency of the African community. While the immediate cause of our organizing has been the escalation of US wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, we are representative of a people whose introduction to the US and to imperialism in general has been our own experience as victims through the attack on our African motherland and the subsequent enslavement and colonization from which we still suffer today. It has been our own historical experiences as victims of imperialism that help to inform our views of imperialist aggression by the US and others against the peoples of the Middle East, including Palestine and the Persian Gulf. It has been our own experiences that help us to recognize imperialist aggression by the US and others against the people of South America, especially Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and the growing anti-imperialist bloc. These experiences have also made us opponents of US and other imperialist involvement in Africa and the African world at large, especially the economic quarantine of Zimbabwe, the proxy wars in Congo, Ivory Coast, and other places, and the imposition of AFRICOM as a means to guarantee the never-ending profit-taking immiseration of African people. We recognize the current imperialist involvement in Africa and the African world as continuation of the initial assault on Africa. In addition, the colonization of the African continent that transformed Africa into a source of stolen labor and resources resulted in the export of African misery and colonization to the far reaches of the earth that include North and South America and the Caribbean, where Haiti continues to be a glaring example of the consequences of this relationship. In fact, the current expression of capitalist exploitation and oppression, known as imperialism by some, is stemming from our enslavement and colonization and the accompanying rape of Asia and what is now known as the Americas. This is why the Black is Back Coalition is uniquely positioned to assume a leadership role in the struggle against the current expression of US imperialist aggression being directed against the struggling peoples of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq. This is why we stand in solidarity with the Mexican people of the US, the people of Cuba and Venezuela, etc. It is because we recognize their struggles, like our own, are simply efforts to reverse the verdict of imperialism that requires the vast majority of the world's peoples to live in perpetual misery and poverty for success. It is because we know that the prisons of the US are filled with the masses of people because US imperialism recognizes us as an internal colony. And since the formal emancipation of our people has maintained a public policy of police containment, most often with the democratic consent of the general white population. This is why the brave men and women who organized themselves and boldly struck out to win our happiness and the return of our stolen resources have all been victims of character assassination, forced exile, and murder. This is why scores of such men and women are now rotting in prisons, are living furtive existences as hunted prey, even as the US preens the world stage pretending social equality, having hidden its historically recognized white power behind a black face in the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama, unquote. Our organization of the coalition also challenged the so-called peace or anti-war movement to move beyond the defensive, though sometimes militant posture of imploring the imperialists to be peaceful by uniting with the colonially oppressed to defeat imperialism. For the first time, a firm relationship between peace and anti-colonialism was affixed to the anti-war movement. Unity with struggles of the oppressed, especially those colonized within US current borders, became a litmus test for the legitimacy of peace movements. True to its definition, the coalition is characterized by unity and struggle, with unity being the dominant factor in this dialectic. The existence of this dialectic of unity and struggle has sometimes confused members of our party, who occasionally demonstrate disunity with the party's coalition work because of evidence of disagreement with our worldview or discomfort with our leading role by coalition leaders. However, our party has contributed to the growing coherence of our struggle for national liberation, unification, and socialism that was until recently proudly defined by political incoherence and glorification of spontaneity and non-specific or centralized leadership. At this point, the coalition is strong and comprises 17 different organizations, something that most would have thought impossible when we were formed 11 years ago, and it would have been impossible without the contributing leadership and tenacity of our party. Most are familiar with the magnificent history of the coalition in clarifying and defining critical moments of our struggle. We have paved the way for the emergence of other, sometimes contending organizations and movements that without the leadership of the coalition and our party would have never dared raise the profound ideological issues being pushed to the surface by our movement and emerging historically clarifying events. The coalition is preparing for its 5th electoral school that is designed to continue demystification of the bourgeois electoral process. Our party recognizes the fact that the electoral process is a tool of the colonial capitalist state for moderating the nonviolent contest for control of the state by contending factions of the colonialist ruling class. However, with the advent of universal suffrage that included the legal ability of the colonized to contend within this arena, the outdated character of the electoral process was subdued by the violent suppression of our anti-colonial revolution. The assassinations of our leaders, destructions of anti-colonial organizations, and massive arrests and dispersal of their members was necessary to clear the field of revolutionary intervention within the electoral process. This guaranteed that the anti-colonial aspirations and interests of our people would be diverted to the safe embrace of elections designed to forward the interests of our oppressors, mostly as represented in the ruling class Democratic Party. Our coalition is helping to expose the role of elections as facilitators of white ruling class interests and to destroy the monopoly of the African petty bourgeois neo-colonial conciliators in this arena. African militant activists and workers are being educated along with the general African population to participate in the electoral process, challenging the colonial capitalist class peace through raising up all the interests of our people presumed dead through defeat of our revolution of the 1960s. The coalition was in the midst of conducting our annual rally and march on the White House on November 7, 2020, when the colonial capitalist media determined that the Democratic Party candidate, Joe Biden, was the winner of the presidential contest. Our bold, non-opportunist slogans, Black Power Matters, Down with Colonialism, Black Community Control of the Police, challenged the intoxicated exuberance of the mostly white celebrants in the streets of the US Capitol, the location of the seat of government that would be seized 2 months later by colonialist dissidents in opposition to the election outcome deposing Donald Trump. The speeches made by colonial members, by coalition members, the speeches made by coalition members whose militant march was stalled by joyful celebrants of Trump's election defeat were greeted first with initial amazement and then with excited support by the throng. Concerns that our anti-colonial message for Black power and control of the police arm of the state would alienate possible so-called allies were proven false. It was clear that the people wanted the leadership that the coalition was providing. The process of our party's determination to complete the revolution of the 60s is increasingly being embraced by wider sectors of the African movement and population and winning support from sectors of the colonizer population. This will take our influence and potential beyond the immediate ranks of the colonizers that constitute our Solidarity Front. Wherever we are the African Socialist International. The second plenary of the 7th Congress is a true turning point for our party and for African and oppressed peoples of the world. The success of the party's history of building for the revolutionary liberation of Africa and Africans under the leadership of the working class is most pronounced in this period. The 7th Congress second plenary is making history with the full organizational integration of the party globally as the African Socialist International, ASI. I first formally introduced the work to build the Africa in 1981. By 1983, I went to leadership of a revitalized global liberation movement. Today, we are closer to achieving that goal than ever. We have always said that African internationalism is a theory of practice, and the African Socialist International, the organized expression of our party globally, is the material, practical manifestation of that truth. Comrade Louise Kinshasa's eventual assumption of the role of in Congo, but exiled in Europe for many years, first in France and finally in the UK. Secretary General Louise brought the direct organizational connection between Africa and Europe into the party with him. Now, there's a special resonance to our plenary call. There is a special resonance to our plenary's call to African workers of the world to unite and organize. The party's presence on the ground in the US, Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean now truly gives concrete leadership and coherence to African workers of the world. Comrade Tafari Mugare's success in building a dynamic party presence in South Africa has elevated his leadership role to include Director of Organization for Africa. Our leadership structure for the ASI includes me as chair, Comrade Louise as Secretary General, and Tafari as Director of Organization. Our regional strategy is being implemented globally in the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and throughout our motherland. All party members are part of the ASI, and the following mandates apply to the whole party wherever we are located. In January, several pre-plenary conferences organized under the title Black Power Summit were held online in the 4 designated party regions of the US. Also, the regional conferences of the Caribbean included active participation by Africans in the Bahamas, Bermuda, and Guadeloupe, among other colonies. In Europe, the regional conference brought African participation from the United Kingdom, France, and other European countries within which we have worked for years, building our party. The party regions in Africa held successful pre-plenary regional Black Power summits that drew over 100 participants from Ghana, Sierra Leone, Chad, Ivory Coast, occupied Tanzania, South Africa, Kenya, and a number of other locations, including Nigeria. Comrade Tafari is doing a magnificent job of forging functional party organization and regional committees. The regional conferences marked a major turning point in the development of the African Revolution under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. Our people now have an international party producing and spreading revolutionary cadre, organization, and theory that gives our freedom struggle the necessary coherence that has been missing since the US crushed the Garvey-led UNIA and later the fledgling efforts of Kwame Nkrumah and Robert Mangolisa Sobukwe and Patrice Lumumba. This alone is a notable success. Finally, Africans are consciously engaged in a single global struggle for our liberation. This unity spells the certain doom of world colonial capitalism. It provides the practical process for fomenting anti-colonial revolutionary organization and theory, and shutting down worldwide capitalist production. Of course, we unite with and lead many of the efforts that protest reactionary neo-colonial policies, imperialist incursions, interventions in Africa, and the presence and activists of the US, AFRICOM. More importantly, through the ASI, we are the front line in the struggle to defeat colonialism and all the imperialist aggressions in Africa. We are actively organizationally engaged in the struggle for the liberation and unification of Africa and our forcibly dispersed nation globally. The process leading up to this plenary has contributed to the development and consolidation of our regional strategy globally. Our regional structures are being better developed as part of a global whole, and our practice contributes to identifying and fixing organizational and structural contradictions as they reveal themselves. The mandates for our ASI work leading up to the party's 2023 Congress to be held in occupied Tanzania include, first of all, ongoing serious ASI implementation of the regional strategy. Although this may be tweaked somewhat with our regional Black Power summits, the meaning of this is spelled out in the political report to the first plenary of the 7th Congress. We are mandating that the section on the significance and implementation of the regional strategy from the 2021 political report must be seriously studied by regional committees throughout the world. These are tasks that must be carried out to allow for greater leadership participation of our regional committees. This helps to mature our organizational structures and the cadre called on to assume full responsibility for the party's success within their respective regions. As part of the maturation and cadre building process for all our regional leaders and members throughout the world, we are mandating that the protocols for leading, chairing, and participating in meetings that have been set by Deputy Chair Onozene Ishitela and her office must be strictly followed and adhered to. The correct carrying out of meetings is critical for the implementation of democratic centralism in the party. Meeting agendas must go out a minimum of 48 hours in advance, and every person must submit their reports for their areas of work into the agenda. Everyone must participate in the discussion of the party work and solving problems. All job descriptions for meetings, such as project manager, must be filled. Meetings must not be canceled. This is critical for carrying out intra-party democracy. A full workshop on the correct holding of meetings will be included in the party mini intensive coming up in February. All job descriptions and all offices and regional committees must be filled, and struggle must be made for all jobs to be carried out according to the job descriptions. Plans of action, POAs, must be created and adhered to in all levels of regional work. POAs must be held accountable, and work and plans cannot be dropped except as part of a democratically discussed and voted on process, and for good reason. The party's regional structural integrity must be vigorously pursued everywhere. Real regional representatives providing leadership through functioning and highly accountable regional committees is a must. Our work in all regions will take on characteristics specific to the plans being developed by the Office of the Deputy Chair in greater pursuit of our independent anti-colonial African economy. This is a critical priority of the party. It is the dynamic mechanism for negating the colonial economic parasite that continues to suck the life out of Africa and our people everywhere. The global integration of our party's economic work through the regional strategy will begin with our export-import enterprises that will fulfill Garvey's vision of connecting Africa and Africans through trade among ourselves globally. Comrades in occupied Tanzania, South Africa, playing a major role in development of our regional hubs in Africa. Currently, our most impressive party work in Africa is headquartered in Tanzania under the leadership of an increasingly effective core of young cadre whose work with the Office of the Deputy Chair is moving to implement what promises to be a major thrust toward the establishment of our independent anti-colonial economy. Increasingly, these disparate party members are functioning as participants in defining and leading the work throughout Africa that stem from our African internationalist informed structures and mandates. This work must move rapidly to include plans of action for all our local party work in Africa. We have been in discussion for some time now about moving to create garment factories in Africa that begin production to satisfy the market provided through our existing shops within the US and possibly the Caribbean. Africa. This is one issue we have initiated a plan of action to solve. We have already secured a place in South Africa for one of our factories, and we are looking for other locations, especially Ghana. The regional plans of action for Africa and the Caribbean are essentially the same as elsewhere, except they will undoubtedly be influenced by some decisions from our pre-plenary January Regional Black Power Summit. Comrade Alex Morley, our Caribbean regional representative, will have to vigorously enhance our party's presence in the Bahamas and effectively work to achieve maximum participation from a genuine regional committee with representatives from the other islands already in our party's embrace. ASI Secretary General Luiza must preside over predetermined ASI meetings of our leading ASI committees to hold our POAs accountable to our party. Again, the protocol set by Deputy Chair Onozene for these meetings must be followed, including her practice of laying out the dates and times for all the meetings for the entire year to be presented at the first meeting. Finally, the comrades in occupied Tanzania will be playing a crucial role in the party's first International Congress scheduled for occupied Tanzania in South Africa in 2023. All our work, including this plenary, is ultimately geared toward carrying out this mandate from our 7th Congress, where our internationally based party will come together to fulfill the mission inherent in Marcus Garvey's declaration 100 years ago, for Africans at home and abroad. Our regional strategy will play the critical role in mobilizing our party and our people for this historic revolutionary event that promises to unleash the genius, courage, and power of Africa and our people globally and change the course of human history. The party plans to begin our work on building our historic 8th Congress later this year. Finally, the international African working class has thrust itself, Africa and our people, into the forefront of history. Our intent to end forever our tortured, humiliating existence as colonial fodder and the deep, irreversible existential crisis of imperialism is resolutely expressed in our call. African workers of the world, unite and organize. Ease relate to.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Kundai, you there? Uhuru, everybody. Salute to Chairman. Salute to the political report. And we amazingly even we are ahead of time. So we're going to have a dynamic question and answer segment coming up. However, right now we'd like to bring back on comrades Nzei as well as Comrade Tachara to check in on some of those financial goals, some of those economic development goals that we had been looking at earlier. Our comrades Tachara and Nzei there.
Comrade Matsamela.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say that perhaps I owe a self-criticism for finishing so early. I'm just about an hour early. As you know, initially we thought that there would not be enough time to do the entire political report within the plenary. So we started a week early with reading the plenary during the Sunday study, and with the assumption that we would do just one or two chapters and be able to go straight into the plenary and then accomplish reading the entire thing. But we learned from that reading on the Sunday prior to this plenary that we would be able to accomplish the entire political report. I did not know how fast I was moving, and in fact, at different times, usually, as you know, I would spend time elaborating on different positions in the political report. And I didn't do it that much this time because I wanted to make sure that we didn't sacrifice the time, that I was not being undisciplined and taking us beyond the time that we had established for this political report. And so it happened much more quickly than I thought it would happen. And so anyway, we are a bit ahead of time, as you just suggested, but I'm sure with your clever leadership and the assistance of all these other people who are working with you in this process, that we'll be all right. Uhuru.
Uhuru. So since we're here and we, like you said, we did finish early, let's go ahead and go to the discussion, and then we can come back to Comrade Tachara and Nzei for an update on the wins with the donations. So
if we want to go to discussion, is this the point where Comrade Secretary Luezi would call for adoption of the
Uhuru. Yes, Chairman. So we want to, salute you for this brilliant political report, and also bring up our Secretary General of the African Socialist International to facilitate the discussion of the political report. Uhuru, SG, Luwezi.
Yeah, I just want to salute Chairman Malichela for these brilliant reports. And I think this is, we're looking for benchmark in the world history, the turning point. And this is the document that every African should have, every neighborhood should have, every village, everywhere they should have this document. And it's the sharpest weapon in the hands of African working class you can see anywhere on the planet. So I just want to salute Chairman for taking the most sharpest weapons you can think of. So what we're going to do now is to call on all members of the African People's Socialist Party to adopt the political report, and history, as I said, will be made. So it's your moment now to adopt this political report, dear comrades. Wherever you are, you will know how to do it, but you need basically to adopt this political report.
I think what we have as Secretary General is formally move for the party to adopt the political report. I'd like to, let's have a motion to adopt the political report.
Uhuru,
Yes, we were.
Uhuru, can I just make a point that we were supposed to have the discussion first and then the adoption?
No, we moved to adopt.
Okay.
Second, and then we call for discussion.
I second. This is Chimaringa.
So it's been moved and second. Now let's have discussion. Yeah.
Uhuru. All right, comrades. So let's get into the first question is okay. Uhuru, thank you, comrades. Okay, so the first question is from Comrade Sobek in Los Angeles, California. And he asks, when members of our party run for office, how do we identify our party? Being that we are not part of the third party paradigm.
Well, in most instances, Comrade Sobek, we say we are members of our party. And you identify us by our program, and part of course, our program will be a reflection of the National Black Political Agenda, a part of the National Democratic Revolutionary Program that we pursued for a long time, and then through the Black is Back Coalition. So in most instances, we say we are the African People's Socialist Party. There's never any doubt about who we are. We don't hide who we are. So as you will see with comrades Kalambai and T'Chawa, as you saw with Comrade Akile and Comrade Jesse Neville, who ran in St. Petersburg, Florida, we say who we are. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you for that answer, Chairman. And then the next question is also from Comrade Sobek. It says, I don't know if I'm asking this correctly, but Chairman, you spoke of African or Black opportunists posing, faking in the struggle for African liberation as African internationalists. Do we always have to play nice?
Well, I'm not quite sure. What that means, but our job is to pursue the revolution. And I think that we have to be, objectively clear and non-liberal in criticizing all those forces who intervene in our struggle in a way that tries to derail the struggle, misdirect the struggle, and things like that. The struggle against opportunism is critical in terms of pushing forward the struggle for revolution. But we don't just run around looking for people, looking for groups and organizations with which we may have political or ideological differences. What we do is engage in the struggle against imperialism. And in the process of doing that, we find ourselves having to contend with opportunists and forces, and that's how usually we end up taking that on. So I don't know. I hope that's hopeful. My point is, of course, we are non-liberal in criticizing lines that attempt to derail and undermine the struggle of our people, misdirect the struggle of our people. We have to be non-liberal in that. But our objective is not, simply to go around looking for people with political and ideological differences, but to pursue the revolution by organizing our people. Because in the final analysis, we're not engaged in some contest of social media militancy to see who gets the most likes and to do that kind of stuff. The question is, how are we organizing, the masses of African people? And most of that's going to be done on the ground. And we're not going to find too many pretenders on the ground out there with us when we are trying to organize in our communities, organizing for power. We said that, part of what our responsibility is during the regional strategy is to turn entire regions, entire communities into bastions of anti-colonial militancy by the entire African population. That's what we are concentrated on doing. And it's when carrying out this mission that we run into opportunists and other forces that we find it necessary to have to engage them in struggle. But we don't spend time running around looking for people with whom we have disagreements. We spend time looking to organize African people, and it's within this context of doing that that we find ourselves having to confront the opportunists and others who would misdirect the struggle. Uhuru.
Uhuru. And so our next question is from Comrade Mads in Portland, Oregon. She says, Chairman, what is the difference between the socialist worldview you described as being the stages of communism and the final stages when communism exists?
Well, is that the struggle is one to resolve this profound contradiction that has been introduced to human society through the advent of colonial capitalism. And that is where a handful of non-producing people own and control the means of production. The vast majority of working people, and this is concentrated in the colonized countries and colonized communities of the world, we are the ones who produce socially, and we own nothing. And the ones who own everything do no production. So you have this contradiction between socialized production and private ownership. So you have the colonizer, colonial capitalist who privately owns the means of production. And then you have the working people, especially among the colonized peoples, who socially produce everything that we live on. And so this is a profound contradiction. So what has to happen is this contradiction has to be resolved, and the only way it can be resolved is through the power of the producers of value have to depose those who own privately everything we produce and our ability to do production. So this is an objective of the communist revolution. But communism doesn't come in one full swoop. What happens is the workers first have to destroy the state power of the colonizer. It must be wiped out, destroyed. And some comrades make a mistake about this and think that we can simply take over the colonizer's apparatus and institutions, and somehow that means liberation, but it doesn't work that way. The colonizer's state apparatus has to be destroyed, has to be wiped out, has to be obliterated. And the workers have to have our own state power. It is this possession of state power in the hands of the working class that constitutes what is referred to as socialism, which is an interim between the defeat of capitalism and the advent of communism. It is this where the state continues to exist, but it's now a state in the possession of the working class, not the state apparatus of the bourgeoisie. And the workers have to have state power for a period of time in order to get rid of first of all, to crush the colonizer, to crush the colonial capitalist so that they can never, ever come back to power again. we put forth the dictatorship of the proletariat, the dictatorship of the working class, which means the same kind of stuff that we face and trying to get meeting spaces and trying to have radio and TV and all that. We denied that to the colonial capitalists so that they can never have the vehicle through which they can advocate and organize for colonial capitalism to come back. Because once they're overthrown, they're even more vicious than they were before and trying to come back. So the workers have to have state power. And this is what socialism is. Socialism is the working class, the state becoming the workers in arms. The state becoming the workers in arms. That is what we refer to as socialism. And it is necessary for the workers to have arms to even redevelop and redefine the economic system, to expropriate the expropriators, to take control of the means of production from the colonizers, to transfer all of that to the working class and to set up institutions that can we destroy the actual material basis and capacity for the ruling class to rule in the same old way. The workers have become temporarily the new ruling class. That's the working class. But it's temporary because we work to eliminate all classes in society by raising up a kind of system that we refer to as colonialism, a communism, where there is no class exploitation, where there is no oppression among the people. This is the lofty height that the African Socialist Internationalist movement is moving toward. This is the lofty height that the African People's Socialist Party is building toward. It is not just police, some body cameras, or getting the police to stop doing bad things, or getting AFRICOM to go away, or something like that. It is the capture of political power by the African working class, who for the period of time, but the transition from capitalism to communism becomes the new ruling class, and that is what we refer to as socialism. So there is still a state, and that's the fundamental thing. The state, which is an organ of coercion, which up to now has been in the possession of the colonizer, of the colonial capitalist ruling class, the state, which oppresses the majority of the people, which oppresses the African workers and peasants, etc. The state, which facilitates the theft of all of our resources, that state has to be destroyed. That's the colonial capitalist state. And a new state comes into existence temporarily. And that is the state, that state is the armed workers. The workers now become the state. The workers now become the new ruling class. And its major project is to destroy the basis of class society so that there can be a society without classes, such as what was known for periods of time before the advent of white power in the world. I hope that was helpful, Max.
For real. I really appreciate.
I hope it was understandable anyway.
No, that was, Chairman. I really want to appreciate Mass for that question. That's something that I know here, anyways. We hear, a lot, and so I really appreciate that answer and just how in depth you went. And yeah, just the explaining.
I'm at Kundai. It's an important question also, because a lot of phony socialists like to pose the thing, I'm a socialist, not a communist, right? They hold up this socialist thing because everybody and his uncle can be a socialist, because communism means the destruction of class society. There's no oppression, no exploitation whatsoever. And you can have this kind of socialism that's coming from people from Democratic Socialists of America, people from these other phony organizations, Bernie Sanders. Their socialism leaves the capitalist system intact. They make the assumption that somehow you can have socialism and capitalism coexisting in the same social space. That's impossible. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a whole new social system, and it cannot come into existence except with the destruction of the capitalist social system. That's what many people have missed when they try to understand how can you have these other so-called revolutions, but it hasn't resulted in improvement in the lives of the working people. That's because for socialism to really to be destroyed. I didn't just make that up. Karl Marx said it a different way when he said that what he called wage slavery, which is capitalist production, and in Europe, he said, required as a pedestal, slavery pure and simple in what he called the new world. The pedestal is our enslavement. But he talked about that as primitive accumulation. He said this primitive accumulation, which includes turning Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of black skins. He said this primitive accumulation is the equivalence in political economy as original sin in theology. This is the starting point. He called it primitive accumulation, but that was the definition that helped to describe the development of Europe. It didn't have anything to do with what happened to us. What he called primitive accumulation was rape and pillage and the destruction of our societies and communities, et cetera, that took all this wealth and resources to Europe. From there, that's a different perspective from ours. We are talking about colonialism. That's the colonialism. That, in fact, was a mode of production that replaced feudalism. And so that's what we're saying. And we'll have more and more discussion of this moving forward, I'm sure. Uhuru. Hope I didn't overtalk it for you, Mads.
Uhuru. I'm sure Comrade Mads appreciated that answer. I know I did. So thank you. The next question is from Gabriel. Hope I'm not messing up the last name, Nazarox from Germany, viewing on YouTube. What do you think about the international coordination of revolutionary parties and organizations, or ICOR, ICOR?
I have no understanding of ICOR and International Coordination of Revolutionary Organizations and Parties. I'm sorry, comrade. I don't know anything about that, but you can send us information. I'd be interested in seeing what that's about. But I would tell you this: if it does not contribute if it does not recognize the centrality of colonialism, destruction of colonialism, for the advent of whatever kind of progress or revolutionary conclusion that you're looking at, then it's opportunist. Because the whole capitalist enterprise rests upon the foundation of the colonization of the vast majority of the peoples on Earth, and in Deutschland and in other places, it's necessary for everybody engaged in political activity to recognize that. And genuine, yeah. Let me just leave it right there for the time being. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Okay, then the next question. Then the next question is from Abraham Funk, viewing on YouTube, says, Uhuru, is Maoism playing a role in the African Socialist Party?
Is what?
Maoism. It looks like Mao Zedong.
Maoism?
Maoism.
I don't. We love Mao Zedong. We love Mao Zedong because he was one of the first people, to develop theory that challenged the traditional European assumptions of what it was going to take to make revolution and create socialism and what have you. The whole centrality of the European industrial working class versus the European industrial ruling class. He challenged that in a serious way. Though he called himself an adherent of Marxism, the fact is that it was necessary to come up with Marxist-Leninism, Mao Zedong thought speaks to the departure that happened there. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what the question was, but we are African internationalists. And the starting point for our investigation of history, which is crucial, is the role that Africa and African people played in the advent of the capitalist system and our location in that system and destiny in that system today. And so that's what informs us. But we learn from Mao. We certainly learned from Chairman Mao. He was a great leader, one probably right now, one of the underappreciated leaders at a particular time in history. He was a revolutionary at a very critical moment in history. But the problem is that, like most of the Marxists, that they ran into severe limitations because the historical basis for the rise of communism did not exist, or the rise of socialism. And you can find that again in some of the comments made by Marx that presume that communism or socialism would come about as a consequence of the ripening of contradictions within the industrial capitalist system. But on the one hand, but on the other hand, he's already informed us that the colonial capitalist system rests on a foundation of colonialism, that the system rests on the foundation of colonialism. So it was a non sequitur for him to say that on the one hand, and then on the other hand, the way to freedom is somehow to overthrow the bourgeoisie. No, what the way to freedom is, the road to freedom and socialism is painted black. The destruction of the colonial pedestal has to occur. And so that had not occurred. And it disillusioned and created problems, in some instance corruption, within certain kind of pro-communist or even socialist organizations and movements and states, because they could not explain their failure. But African internationalism does explain their failure. Their failure rests on the fact that the material basis, the historical basis for the advent of socialism has only now emerged with the struggle of the oppressed peoples of the world, colonized people achieving universality. This is the basis of the crisis of imperialism ever growing, ever deepening that we're seeing today. That's why those white people were climbing the walls at the US Capitol. It's not because of some irrational thing that happened among white people. It's because the crisis of imperialism. And you have to understand that when you look at society, you're looking at an economic base upon which there exists and that creates and promotes and exudes this superstructure, the whole ideological component, the thinking processes in the peoples who have this relationship to this economic basis of slavery and colonialism. Now white people are being driven mad, many of them, because their identity as white people, as a so-called European nation, came into existence through domination of other peoples around the world. Even poor white people from Portugal and the Appalachians and things like that was easily understood by most white people who are seeing loss of white power happening throughout the world. Yes, they were affected by a decline in their economic status and stuff like that, but that decline in their economic status was connected in their perception from Mexicans coming across the border. It was connected to people in Venezuela and all these other places taking back our resources for our own benefit. And so that's what it is we're looking at. So you're not just looking at economics, pure and simple. You're looking at how a whole makeup, cultural and other things come into existence through this economic base of colonial slavery, through a parasitic relationship that Europe has and has had for a long time with the rest of the world. It's over. It's over. Anyway, I just think it's really important to have that understanding, because you hear the white and the Marxists and some of these other so-called socialists, they can only talk in terms of economics. They can only talk in terms of economics, but it's more than just something that you can tally up, in terms of money coming in and money going out. It's consciousness being destroyed. It's the image, the self-image that white people have of themselves that's under assault by every victory of the oppressed peoples around the world. We are winning. And that's why they were crawling those walls at the US Capitol, because white power ain't doody squat. That's what we say. Black power is red hot. White power ain't doody squat. That's what the young people used to say in the demonstrations I participated in as a young person.
Uhuru, we need to bring that one back. Uhuru, Chairman, thank you for that response. Okay, so our comrade Kmu in Birmingham, Alabama, says I have access to a date. I have access on a daily basis to a radio station here in Birmingham, Alabama, and I would like to know if the chairman would be interested in having the Omali Taught Me Sundays on the air here in Birmingham. Maybe Director Akile could.
There you go. That's what I say. Go to
Yeah.
the comment directly Akili for an answer to that question. Yeah.
Uhuru. We'll make sure that Comrade Kobina, Comrade Kemu purchases a spear from Kobina every month and goes out and sells. So we'll make sure that Comrade Kobina gets Comrade Akila in contact with him. And our next question is from Comrade Denzel, viewing on Zoom. He said, "Can men become members of ANWO?"
Say that again.
Comrade Denzel wants to know, can men become members of ANWO?
I think Comrade yesterday is on this, is in this meeting, so she can better answer that than I.
If Comrade yesterday is on, could you unmute yourself, Comrade? There she is. Uhuru, President yesterday. Comrade Denzel wants to know, you're on mute, Comrade, you on mute. I see your mouth moving.
Okay, you see my mouth, okay, get a light, it looks good. Sorry, comrades, I was watching on television, so there's a little delay. So men are not official members of AMWO, however, men can participate in the work of AMWO by volunteering with our various campaigns. Men can also become sustaining contributors to the work of AMWO by going to our website at amwouhuru.org and contributing financially to the work that we are doing. But also, if you want to get involved, there are opportunities to get involved in the work on a local basis. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, President Yejide. So Comrade Denzel, head over to the website and fill something out. And okay, Belinda Simpson on YouTube wants to know, how can we get rid of tokens?
Got rid of, but they get rid of by making them useless to the oppressor. And you make them useless to the oppressor by supporting the African Revolution, the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru movement, and by joining and building this party, we make them useless. The bourgeoisie has no use for them, so a token doesn't work. That's what we have to do. That's the important thing. When the masses no longer appear to follow these characters, then they become useless to the bourgeoisie, and the bourgeoisie would get rid of them.
Uhuru. Our comrade Kumba in St. Louis, Missouri is asking, what is the institution for developing communication in Azania? I did not hear it very well.
Oh, you're referencing something I said in the discussion in the political report. No, I'm saying that that's something that we have a plan for that. That's being discussed in the last meeting I was one of the last meetings I was in with the African Socialist International and Comrade Deputy Chair revolved around developing the plan to resolve this communication issue, because it's profoundly significant contradiction. So that plan is actually happening and being consolidated even as we have this discussion. I know within the days following this plenary, it's going to make important leaps forward. Comrade, that was Comrade, yeah, Uhuru.
Uhuru. And next we have Robin Harris, who wants to know, what are the political issues in occupied Azania?
And the main political issue, I'm really glad you asked this. I don't know if Comrade, is Comrade Tafari still on? It's really, what time is it there? Something like 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, I think he dropped off already.
Dropped off already? Yeah, what? Is he's dropped off?
No, I was just saying, just Eshy Luwazy.
Oh, well, Comrade Luwazy, you're here. You can speak to that.
Yes, Comrade, this is an important question. In fact, you will get you will have a chance to hear from the director of our organization in Africa tomorrow. There is a panel you will be a part of independence in our lifetime. But what we can say in South Africa, you can also say in Zimbabwe. We know the revolution was never completed; it was betrayed, and the contradiction that was there before around the land question is still there today. And on top of that, we used to be an African nation fighting against the white nation in terms of settlers, but now there is a split inside the African nation. The African petit bourgeoisie has become the administrator of the settler colonial state. So you have a compilation, a worsening of the contradiction, because now the African working class has to fight the white power in a white face and also the white power in a black face. And as far as the African People's Socialist Party is concerned, the critical problem in South Africa, like it is everywhere, is what we propose as a solution. Basically, the building of the African People's Socialist Party in Tanzania, from the African working class point of view, that's the most fundamental task. And within that, we also recognize that South Africa is a part of Africa and is a part of African nation. So when we say, when you ask what is the most political question, it hasn't changed. It just has become worse. It's the colonial question. That is the most everything we can talk about. You know, lack of healthcare, lack of education. All these, everything is linked to the question of neo-colonial state. Now, the African petit bourgeoisie has to be defeated politically, ideologically, and the white settler have to be defeated, not just politically, ideologically, but the colonialists has to be defeated through revolution. They have to be removed from power so that the struggle for national liberation can continue in Africa. So colonialism, as is known in South Africa, neo-colonialism, neo-settler colonialism is the main contradiction. And how do you solve that problem? As I say, the first thing we have to do is to build a party, and that's what we're doing right now as a part of the process of building the African Socialist International. That's what I can say right now. Just, everyone has to be clear. There is no black power in South Africa. It's the African petit bourgeoisie that is in power, white power and the black face. And there's a myth that we're living in a rainbow nation, all those things you heard in the past. The struggle is very much alive, and that's the job that Comrade Tafari, the director of our organization in South Africa, is doing very well, mobilizing, bringing African working class back to political life under the leadership of African internationalism. That's where we are right now. That's what I can say right now.
Uhuru, but I want to just add to that, there was a time when South Africa was recognized or called the last colony in Africa. And somehow the defeat of what they call apartheid was going to mean that colonialism was gone in Africa. And the African People's Socialist Party always challenged that notion and recognized that neo-colonialism, which is new colonial, it's not colonialism gone, it's just colonialism in blackface. That was what was all over Africa. And the struggle against apartheid was simply a struggle for colonialism in blackface, because apartheid is simply the form of the state. It is not the essential contradiction. You're still living under colonial domination. Now what they've done, and they did in South Africa, is something similar they did in other places, including the United States to a certain extent, as they turned the administration of the colonial state, the colonial capitalist state, over to Black people. So it obscured that relationship. And so similarly, inside the United States, with the advent of so-called civil rights movement and things like that, it convinced the many African people, these civil rights Negroes, these neo-colonial puppet convinced that the African People's Socialist Party was a fundamental component of the exile revolutionary movement for South Africa. And the African National Congress, which has always been a sellout organization for most of its existence, is the organization with its freedom charter written by Joe Slovo, who was a member of the South African Communist Party, that declared that South Africa belonged to all who lived there, colonizer and colonized alike. That was the thing that caused the split inside the African National Congress. And you saw the movement, courageous movement of Robert Mangaliswa Sobukwe, who led the youth wing of the African National Congress. He was really influenced by Kwame Nkrumah and may have attended Nkrumah's 1958 conference that happened in Accra, Ghana. And it was he who broke from the African National Congress and took much of the organization, especially young people, and created the Pan-Africanist organization, Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. And we worked with the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania for a while. And both the ANC and the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, or PAC, they were recognized in the international community, which means white power institutions like the United Nations, as the two legitimate representatives of African people in South Africa. And we united with the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. We toured them throughout the United States. We actually functioned as a part of the PAC in many ways, and some PAC members were members of the African People's Socialist Party. Some of the more advanced were members of the African People's Socialist Party. You can go back to old congresses and things like that of our party, and you would see sitting there members of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. At our first the tribunal that we did in 1982 in New York City, members of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania were there also. So we've always had that relationship, but just like in the United States, when the African petty bourgeoisie was able to get elected, when they were open, the door was open and they could run for office, that for them meant the end of the revolution. And of course, at the same time this was happening, the United States government killed and jailed real revolutionaries so that people only had access to Jesse Jackson, the Democratic Party representatives and things like that. And the same thing in occupied Azania, we saw the revolution somehow get lost after the so-called end of the apartheid state, and Africans could run for office, etc. And it's really dumbfounding to me to see people who, in groups that we consider revolutionary organizations in South Africa, who simply relied on the electoral process to go to power. And anyway, that's an institution of the neo-colonial state. And you should, if you get an opportunity, comrade, who was that comrade, Robin? You should locate my presentation made at the 8th Congress of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. When was that, comrade Louise? You were there, 2000 what?
It was in December 2004.
2004.
Yeah,
and,
there's a video as well.
Yeah, that video is available. You should take a look at that. Uhuru.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And the next question is from Comrade Nwambi in San Diego. It says, Chairman, in the NPDOM report, you said recruiting African militants and Africans who are conscious. Can you expand on that and the lack of a more political wording? Is that good?
I'm sorry, I don't think I understood the question.
I'm not sure if I do.
What?
Can you expand on that?
Is he about the NPDOM, isn't it? Members?
Yes. So, So he's saying, in the political report, you said recruiting African militants and Africans who are conscious. Can you expand on that? I guess we should just stop his question there. Can you expand on that?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't just say recruiting African militants and Africans who are conscious. That was
Chairman.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the reports, talking about NPDOM, you mentioned there are now people who are coming to NPDAM who have already a certain consciousness. And that's a new type of members NPDAM is recruiting now under the leadership of President Kalambai.
Okay, if that's what's being referenced, that is true. I've watched the development of NPDAM. Comrade Muambi, you know, I've seen Comrade Muambi and your own development, Comrade, people who were anarchists and came from various kind of obscurantist kind of philosophical worldviews, and people who were just there. And I've seen over the years, and especially since Comrade Kalambai assumed the leadership of that organization, a more coherent and maturing organizational development. And in the past, we've had an NPDAM leadership that was more about building themselves as individuals and being heroic and stuff like that, than they were about building the actual organizational capacity, and that has changed. And so we have people who are militants and who have come into that organization, some who were not militants necessarily when they came into the organization. We've seen an actual maturation, the development of NPDAM and its leadership body. So I hope I'm speaking to what it was. I don't know exactly the reference that you mentioned, because I know I said also at some time in this discussion something about just recruitment in general, and so I'm not sure, but I hope I spoke to it, Comrade Muambi.
And Mwambi is our next question. He also says, Chairman, this report is brilliant. And after being to my second plenary, I understand the real world work that comes out of these pages. Thank you genuinely for leading the African world is our charge for freedom. My question is about the Caribbean. What impact are we having in places like Cuba, Jamaica, and Haiti?
We have some impact in Jamaica, more or less sure that I spoke to Jamaica a few years ago, and I spoke to an audience of something like 8,000 Africans there. And the response was extraordinary. And I put out a purely African internationalist presentation, and that's something also that should be available. It's on a video, and we have had a real serious base there. And there are people who on our studies, Sunday studies, what have you, but we haven't had an opportunity up until now. I think we'll see now with the implementation of the regional structure, the regional committee in the Caribbean. I think we'll see an implementation of the growth of our party presence in Jamaica, because there is always somebody there. There are always people who are looking to us, reaching out to us from Jamaica, but I think now we may build there. We will build there. Uhuru. And in Cuba, I cannot say we have any influence or in Cuba. In Haiti, I think we are really beginning to provide some ideological leadership there through our party. Comrade Ngoma, Elikia Ngoma, who works in my office, is from Haiti, and she does on a regular basis. She is writing and offering ideological direction to the spontaneous struggles that are developing, and sometimes not so spontaneous struggles that's developing in Haiti, because there's not going to be any Haitian revolution any more than there's going to be a Huntsville, Alabama revolution. It's an African revolution that we aren't going to make it out of here without combining this revolutionary project. That's why the African Socialist International is so necessary. So we'll be seeing more and more of that. And Comrade Iliki has already written a lot on that we are publishing, and I think we're involved in the project to publish either a book or pamphlet revolving around the struggle in Haiti that has to be made available. And Comrade Elikia is participating in translating much of our stuff into Creole. And so that's about all I can say on that, Comrade Muambi.
Uhuru. Our next question is from Jamal Begas, who says, with regard to Black Star Radio, are there opportunities for comrades in other regions? As a broadcast entity, it is key in allowing regions to report the material conditions in their local committees, or should social media strategies take precedent?
Do you mean Black Power 96 FM radio?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what the comrade meant.
Yeah, well, we're going to be hearing a report, not necessarily maybe some of it coming out at this plenary, but if you heard the political report, I spoke extensively about the Department of Agitation and Propaganda that is responsible for developing and distributing our ideas, and through radio is one of the mediums that we're using for that. And we see the Black Power 96 radio, especially using these internet social media applications that will take us all around the world, will become an important organizing tool that will allow the party to report on from various places in the world on what's happening to African people, and becomes a part of the whole organizing foundation of our work. And I'm sure that Director Akile would have more to say on that than what I've just mentioned.
Uhuru. And the next question is from Comrade MQ in Gainesville, Florida, who says, Uhuru Chairman, will the party be building in Southeast Asia or Oceania?
Yeah, that's interesting because we do hear frequently from brothers and sisters in that region of the world. We hear frequently. And so it's our objective to do that. If you will read the political report to the 6th and 7th Congress, where we included a section on the African nation, you will see that we include those brothers and sisters in that region of the world as part of the African nation. And so our objective is to win it. And we've seen at different times in our history this kind of unity, especially during the Garvey era, we saw it. So yeah, that's our intention, is to organize there. And to the extent we make those kinds of connections effectively, I know we hear, I think rather frequently from, certainly from Australia, Africans who are there. And so yeah, that's our intention, to organize there, Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Everywhere Africans are, everywhere.
Uhuru. And the next question is from Zerhans from on YouTube, says, how can I join this movement? I live in the UK. So SG, I think you could maybe help out and take this one. Are you on mute, SG? Okay.
Okay. If they are in the UK, one thing, the person still can register apspuhuru.org. That's one way. And the other way, they can give. Is there a way for the person to give us a phone number, and then we call it tomorrow? If it's not too late, we will call it now. It's about midnight. It's going to be midnight soon, but we call it tomorrow morning. But I can give our number, but it would be good to have a number because we are the organizers. That's for guarantee. We're going to call us. We get that number. But our number is 077 2306 7486. 077 2306 7486. And if there is a way for us to leave details, and we're going to contact them tomorrow for sure.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully our moderators on YouTube can respond to Zerhans with that number and information.
Yeah.
And then the next question is from me, and I wanted to know, on page 78 of the political report, Chairman, you spoke about the need leadership of Dr. Chimarenga within the party's fractions of our mass organizations. And I was wondering how this should be carried out. Will the fractions of our mass organizations need to meet with Dr. Chimarenga regularly, or will reports from the leadership of each mass organization in the NCC meetings with Dr. Chimarenga suffice?
Let me just say, Comrade Director Chimarenga, I'm sure we'll be establishing the formalities of how this works. But for APDEP, for example, there will be a leading party fraction, and this leading party fraction will be comprised of at least 3 leaders of party members who are leaders of that APDEP work, and who will have the responsibility of making sure the party's line and philosophy and everything else is represented in APDEP work, generally speaking, but also making sure that APDEP's work is represented in various other areas of the party's structures and organizations, so that even though we have a leading party organization in the form, I'm sure, of you and Comrade Aisha and somebody else, there will be other fractions that will exist in other areas of the work, possibly outside of Huntsville. I don't know, depending on how far we move to establish the programs coming out of APDEP everywhere else. So there would be, for example, fractions, people who are part of that fraction who would exist in St. Petersburg, Florida, as well as part of the fraction that exists in Folkville, in South Africa, occupied Azania. The structures will go everywhere. And this is the way that we solve the problem, or maintain the leadership of the mass work in the possession of party cadre, and guaranteeing that the party's politic, philosophy, everything is represented in all the activity and the political aims and goals of the party at any given moment. We have this organizational component to make that happen. And Chimarenga, I'm sure he's got work to do in terms of developing how that looks. I know that he couldn't say that right now exactly how that looks. I don't think he could anyway. But that's part of what we're working on, what has to be worked on right now. Uhuru.
Okay. Uhuru, thank you for that, Chairman. And our next question is from Director Chimarenga. It says, is it possible for the implementation of socialism through an election in a place such as Venezuela, since the historical basis for socialism now exists?
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't exist because there's a historical basis for it. There are other things that have to play like a really important role in making that happen. Venezuela cannot exist by itself. You know, you can talk about the material conditions that exist, historical, it doesn't exist like that. Venezuela cannot exist, you know, a socialism by itself. Because the world economy is still a capitalist world economy. The conditions exist for the rise of socialism, but that comes as a consequence of the defeat of capitalism and as a part of the process of defeating capitalism. And so Venezuela, we have a tremendous amount of respect and support for what's happening in Venezuela, and the courage and the fight that the people have initiated there. Of course, the weakness of the Venezuelan revolution exists inside the United States, where you got people who support and in solidarity with Venezuela, but not making revolution in the United States, where that's the big problem for Venezuela. It is not some bad policy in and of itself. It's the U.S. government, and our responsibility is to make the revolution here. So just because the historical basis for socialism exists, we say in order for there to be socialism, what else is necessary? One of the things necessary for socialism is what? Crisis. We see crisis everywhere, don't we? In fact, Venezuela represents part of the crisis of the system. We say another thing is necessary is that the people, the ruling class can't rule in the same old way. That obviously cannot happen. The ruling class cannot rule in the same old way. That was why there was Obama. And that's why we see some of these other manifestations. We say in order for there to be socialism, that the working class has to have concluded that anything is better than hell, that they will risk lives and everything else to fight against this social system, as we've seen occurring on some levels in places like Ferguson, St. Louis, and even what we saw with the 10,000 or more demonstrations and protests, uprising inside the United States. That was a part of the process of making that happen. But another thing that is necessary to make the revolution is revolutionary theory, is a revolutionary party that is guided by advanced revolutionary theory. This is what's necessary for revolution, as opposed to simply having uprisings and huge and brilliant protests, mobilizations. We have to capture political power, one, and also the Revolutionary Party, guided by revolutionary theory, recognizes that that the advent of socialism, historical basis for socialism, the historical basis for socialism has arrived, but now we have to create the organization that will carry out the mission to defeat imperialism. And a critical aspect of that is what Africans in the United States are going to be doing. Uhuru.
Then our looks like our last question is from
you know, we saw what happened at one time. The revolution or the movement in Venezuela. It just had, you know, some, you know, great successes. United with what the Cuban Revolution, it provided a greater body of forces united for revolution. And then among the things we saw was the United States, along with Saudi Arabia, initiated this oil petroleum glut that drove the price of oil down into the basement. And Venezuela was one of the targets for that, because the Venezuelan economy was based mostly on petroleum. But Iran was a part of the Russian economy based mostly on petroleum. So when the United States got Saudi Arabia, and by the way, Saudi Arabia is paying the price for that itself increasingly now. The point I was going to make is that played a really important role in undermining what they were trying to do in Venezuela, which you know brings the point home that that Venezuela by itself can't do it. And that the historical basis for socialism has arrived, but there are other things that have to occur. Venezuela cannot do it by itself. And that's one of the things that gives so much significance to the revolutionary activity of African people here in the United States, this crippled hegemon that's staggering throughout the globe and doing as much damage to the peoples and struggles as it can in order to maintain its status. That's why what we do is so important. That's why opportunism and simply running around supporting this and supporting that in theory, that's not connected to building an actual revolutionary capacity inside the United States, to make revolution here inside the United States, because we can't just go on protesting what the United States does. And you can tell the fidelity of any of these organizations as revolutionaries or for socialism or anything like that. You can tell the fidelity of that is whether or not they are building a revolutionary organization, whether or not building to capture political power, whether or not they are building to destroy capitalism, not just complain about capitalism, not just proclaim socialism as some kind of wishful thinking, but recognizing that socialism and capitalism cannot occupy the same social and political space. So if there is going to be any socialism, and if these people who proclaim to be socialists, really mean it, if they proclaim to be revolutionaries, really mean it, then they would be building a revolutionary struggle to overturn capitalism, not be simply limiting their struggle or their program to getting extra money under capitalism, getting rid of student loans and that kind of thing. The system has to go. And that's the responsibility of the revolution. And you can tell, I don't care how much they got socialism attached to the name or anything like that. If they are not about, if they were truly involved in that, they would join the African People's Socialist Party. They would try. Many of them couldn't make it because they are opportunists. They would join the Uhuru movement if they were serious, because we've laid out, if you just listen to this political report, we've laid out a formula and organizations and theory and political activity that are designed to destroy this social system and bring about the advent of another social system with the African working class at the helm of this future that we are creating. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you for elaborating on that. Then we have Lynn Dimmer from Philadelphia that says, Uhuru Chairman, this day has been so mobilizing. What does it mean to adopt the political report?
Right now, what it means is that we're going to call the question. And the party members are going to vote on this. And this political report functions as the main resolution for this plenary. And of course, the political report, this is the political report to the second plenary of our 7th Congress. So the original main resolution came from the political report to the 7th Congress. We've elaborated on it, we've developed it, we've tweaked it moving forward, because that's what the plenaries do. They give us an opportunity to check up on where we are from the Congress or from one plenary to the next and carrying out the mandate of the Congress. So what we are going to do now, I'm going to call the question and then say that we should go ahead and call on the members of the party to vote on adoption of this. And this is the report that will inform the political activity of our party throughout this plenary and following this plenary until the next one or until the 2023 Congress that's going to be happening in South Africa. Uhuru.
Uhuru. And I was incorrect earlier when I said that was the last question. We have one more actually from Comrade Paul, who says, Uhuru Chairman, I just returned to the discussion. If you haven't already addressed this question, can you talk about the Chinese Cultural Revolution that has come under constant criticism by the intellectual white left?
Is this Comrade Paul Kessler?
Uh-huh.
Uhuru, Comrade Paul Kessler, I just want to express appreciation for your being there. Someone mentioned you earlier on today during this plenary, how you represent something like 4 generations of your family that's been a part of this revolutionary project. I know up in Santa Cruz, you are responsible for selling more pies than anybody in the world. As I don't know if you call it a carpenter, but you, this really extraordinary craftsperson, you built the display case that was at the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe in Oakland, California, that we ran until the government burned it down. So Uhuru Paul, I just want to appreciate you. And I think that this issue of the Cultural Revolution will continue to resonate for a long period of time. And the thing that's always struck me about the white left colonizers or the white colonizer leftists is that they always know how to make revolution in the face of people's actually successfully making revolution and taking power. And we're talking about a force that never even sees and held a parking lot. But they have the greatest advice. These are ideological imperialists. And so, which is not to say that the Chinese Revolution did or did not make errors, but it was a critically important advent for the development of a revolutionary theory during the 1960s. The Cultural Revolution, I think 1966 was the time where I think was the high tide of that revolutionary movement. that deposed sectors of the Communist Party of China. Mao Zedong asked the question. He says, "You want to know where the capitalist liners are in our party?" He says, "They're here in the Central Committee." And so he led this whole movement, that was characterized as cultural revolution, to discipline and corral those forces who were promoting capitalism inside the Chinese Communist Party itself, inside China. And ultimately, of course, Mao died, and with his death, we saw the ascendancy of those forces who fought Mao Zedong. And even though today it's necessary for them to proclaim fidelity in some way or another to Mao, just like in Ghana, it's necessary to hold up Kwame Nkrumah. The fact of the matter is, in Ghana, there's no respect for Nkrumah, nor for what he tried to do. And the same thing is generally true in China, generally true. I mean, I don't think, I won't make that something that's absolutely the same, however, because the Chinese Communist Party does continue to exist and is faced with the kind of limitations, ideologically theoretical limitations that we spoke of earlier. But yeah, we respect what the Chinese Revolution was able to do, and the Cultural Revolution was a part of that because it raised some critical theoretical questions. And it sent these people who were in the Chinese Communist Party Central Committee, it sent them to work with the peasants, to actually, as Mao said, to go out and shovel ish and do other things, to get their hands dirty, to refamiliarize themselves or to familiarize themselves with the work of the peasants and what have you, so that they could build a genuine revolutionary project based on recognition of the central role of been played by the Chinese peasantry, Uhuru. So, Comrade Paul, I hope that was helpful a little bit. I'm not sure if I addressed the issues that you were referencing, Uhuru.
Uhuru. So that sums up our Q&A section, and I really want to appreciate all of the questions and your responses, Chairman. And it seems like we've got a lot of feedback in the chats from everybody being appreciative of your answers to their questions.
So let's call the question.
Uhuru, so Secretary General Luwezi Kinshasa, if our AV can ask you to turn back on your camera and unmute. And okay, Uhuru SG Luwezi to call to adopt the political report, and the vote will be counted and announced tomorrow.
Yes, Uhuru, comrades, we have been a part of this wonderful and life-changing process, and you all heard the chairman going through the reports. You heard also the discussions, the questions. So I would like to call on the all members of the African People's Socialist Party, and we're going to vote to adopt these reports to the plenary of the African People's Socialist Party in February 2021 as the documents, as the reports of the African People's Socialist Party. And as Comrade Kundai said, you will get the result tomorrow morning. And this is serious business. And that's why you can see the professionalism and the seriousness we devote to this process. And I'm sure you all do appreciate that, the professionalism you see throughout. And so we look forward to the answer tomorrow. So please, again, we are calling on you to adopt this report by Chairman Amadi Stella to this plenary, and we'll get the solution tomorrow, or the answer, we get that tomorrow. And if you don't know where to vote, if you are connected through Zoom, you will see the email you need to send it to.
Uhuru, thank you, Comrade Secretary General Luwezi. And so all members of the African People's Socialist Party should submit your vote to The email address, vote@apspplenary.org. Email your vote saying yes or no to whether or not you unite to adopting this year's political report. So again, that's vote@apspplenary.org. Submit your vote there.
Yes, well.
Thank you, SG, and thank you, Chairman, for this really insightful Q&A section. And Comrade Matsamela.
Uhuru, yeah, I was voting. So I apologize. I'm self-critical. I was voting. Yeah, so it's at this time. We want to once again thank everybody for that question answer segment. And I would like to bring up now comrades Tachara and Nzei to get an update on the call for resources, the donation pledges. Are comrades Nzei and Tachara available?
Uhuru.
We are available. What a great day. What a great plenary. What a great political report. So today has been very, very powerful. I hope that everybody has enjoyed it as much as we have. But we wanted to check back in and give everybody an update as to where we are. We really know it's important to reach our goal of $100,000. We know that everybody wants to contribute to that and be a part of that. So we want to make sure that we update you all. So right now we are at $86,837. So what that means we have $13,163 left. We want to acknowledge those that have donated or contributed since we last came on and gave an update. So we want to appreciate Akinge, who is going to do the Ona's Zene Shatella level of $120 for this year. And Akinge left a message.
Uhuru, forward to freedom and liberation. Thank you, Comrade Akinge.
Uhuru, thank you. Next, we have Catherine, who also is going to do the Ona's Zene Shatella level of $120 for this year.
And Catherine says, long live the APSP and salute to the 2021 plenary.
Uhuru. And we want to let you know that you still have time to donate. You could do that by going to apspuhuru.org/pledge, or people are still standing by, so you can call
727-821-6620. 727-821-6620.
Uhuru. All right. And also we have a contribution from Rashida of $1,200. Uhuru, Rashida.
Right, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Rashida left a message.
Rashida says, Uhuru, we are winning.
Uhuru, yes, we are. We are definitely winning, Rashida. Uhuru, next we have, it's Don Chevelle at the Ona's Zene Shatella level. So that's $120 or $10 a month. So really want to appreciate that. We talked about that level a little bit ago. So really want to appreciate all of those who united and went on and donated to the Ona's Zene Shatella level for this year. Next is Pete, and Pete made a donation of $400. Uhuru, Pete. And then Mark, who made a donation of $2,000. So Uhuru to Mark as well. And again, that brings us to $86,837 with $13,163 to go. So I really want to see, what can we do, comrades? How can we make this happen?
Yeah, well, if anybody has $13,163 they want to pledge or donate,
right,
you can go right ahead and we can go home.
Right. Or
if not, we can break it up.
We can break it up. Or if you got the 13,160, I got the 3. All right, Uhuru. So again, you can go to apspuhuru.org/pledge, or you can call
at 727-821-6620.
Uhuru. And I really want to appeal to Africans during this section. I know, we really appreciate reparations and the unity and solidarity of North Americans. And yes, we will take those contributions as well, but really want to appeal to Africans, especially Africans that are in the party, contributing to our own liberation and our own self-determination. AOBS, that's getting the message out. That's what AOBS, the purpose is, to get the message out to Africans so that we will be able to contribute and work and support our own liberation by donating and working as part of this movement, the African Vanguard Party. So we are calling on you Africans that are out there watching to join us. Both Chatra and I made pledges, and we would like to encourage you to do so as well. And just want to remind you what those pledge levels are, just a few of them. So I pledge for the Ella Baker level. So that's $500 a year. So that's $500 a year, or either that's $42 a month. So I really want to encourage you out there, if you're saying, you know what, $42 a month, I can do that. That's nothing huge. And then Tachara, can you read the quote?
Yeah. So this is the Ella Baker level. And Ella Baker says, remember, we are not fighting for the freedom of the Negro alone, but for the freedom of the human spirit, a larger freedom that encompasses all mankind.
Right. And comrades, if we got five people watching to say, you know what, I can contribute to that level. So that would be $2,500, and that would get us closest to our goal. And then we will only need $10,663. So if you are one of those 5 people, I want to encourage you now to go to the website, and it is apspuhuru.org/pledge, or you can give us a call. People are standing by at
727-821-6620. And if you have any kinds of questions about how to make your pledge or whatever, you can call that number as well. And people are standing by to answer questions as well. If you need to, you can email at donate@apspuhuru.org. If you need to send a check, you can also make a check payable to Black Star Industries, care of Uhuru House, 1245 18th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33705. If we can get that up on the screen, let's do that. If you do want to mail a check, call us and let us know so that you can make the pledge.
Sure.
Yeah. And I donated at the Desi X Woods level.
Right on.
And let's tell you a little bit about Desi X Woods. So Desi Woods was sentenced to 22 years in prison for killing a white man in Georgia with his own gun, who attempted to rape her in 1975. The attempted rape of Desi Woods was an act of colonial violence targeting all colonized African people. And it was the African People's Socialist Party that took that on and actually freed Desi X Woods from political imprisonment. And that's the work of the party. That was 1975. And the work that we hear today manifested in this political report is work that existed with the founding of the party in 1972, and even before, when the party was JOMO, the Junta of Militant Organizations, and even in the form of the work of the chairman in SNCC in 1968 or so. So we have a long history. We have manifest physical institutions all over the country working to create a liberated African economy. We have an instrument for liberation called the African People's Socialist Party and the African Socialist International. We are building forces all over the planet to be able to lead African people toward a socialist, united Africa and African people all over the world, and to destroy imperialism and capitalism. We are in place to do that. And so who else can say that? What else are you going to give your money to other than this? If this is what you're about, make it manifest.
Yeah, earlier somebody said, put your money where your
what is?
Where your mouth is? Yeah, where your freedom is. Put your money where your freedom is. And we want to challenge you to do that. And it's not you know, it's nothing easy to say like, yeah, I can carve out an additional, you know, $50 a month, $120 a month. We understand that it's possibly a sacrifice. You know, as Africans, we are oppressed and we under some of the most oppressed circumstances. But this is for our freedom. This is a fight. This is, you know, that $50 a month, that $10 a month, that's a fight back. And that's a fight towards liberation, not just for us, but also for our children, for their futures. So I want to encourage you to, if you want to match Tachara, he said he did the Desi Woods level. How much is that, Tachara?
That is $240 a year or $20 a month. So it's $20 a month.
All right. All right, Uhuru again, comrades, just want to really thank everybody who already gave. We definitely wanted to just come back and give you an update. We do have more days left in the Congress, but we really, I'm sorry, in the plenary, but we really want to reach this goal. So tonight we can make it happen by going to apspuhuru.org/pledge.
Or calling us at, somebody just put a message up and
The vote
blocking
message.
my,
right.
The number is
It's on here.
727-821-6620. 727-821-6620. Give us a call.
Give us a call.
So we want to see if somebody can match the Desi X Woods level.
Right.
Yeah, that's for people that like this African woman who killed a police officer with his own gun who tried to rape her.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Ella Baker level.
The Ella Baker level.
All right. All right, Uhuru comrades, that's it for us. Just really want to encourage you, join in this fight for your own liberation. This is our party. This is the party of the people, of the African working class, and we have to fight. We have to join the fight to help liberate ourselves. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, everybody, Uhuru. Once again, thank you to Chara, thank you Nzei for those updates. Make sure you're going to apspuhuru.org to make those pledges. No pledge too small, no pledge too big. Liberation, get organized, support how you can. Before we go to our next segment, I want to remind everybody in the party who are voting that the web address, the email address to go to is vote, VOTE, at apspplenary.org. VOTE at apspplenary.org. That's where you're supposed to go to vote. Now, we have a treat for you. I know that just like on our last vending opportunity, you all brought out, you know, broke out your debit cards or whatever it is to get some stuff. We're going to bring out a fan favorite, Zenzele Consignment. So we're going to bring the comrades from Zenzele Consignment to do their virtual table and sales. So let me now pass it to the comrades at Zenzele Consignment. And let's see.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Okay, thanks, comrade Matsamela, and shout out to everybody that donated. And we got a little bit of time, so let's go ahead and we got our international director telling y'all, get your wallets ready. And Zay and Tachara said, put your money where your freedom is. Yeah. Director Aisha says, put your money where your heart is. It's Valentine's season, it's Black History Month. So let's go ahead and get our money ready for Zenzele Consignment. So let's go ahead and get started. Zenzele Consignment is the economic institution of ABDEP, which you'll learn more about on day 4. So let's go ahead and get into these items. First, we have the red, black, and green flag. Oh, and we want people to register. Put your email in because we're going to be sending you, it's different from the vending section that you saw earlier. We are going to send you registration, email invoices. Yes, email invoices with the email that you register with. I put it in the link here on Zoom and on Facebook. So we want you to register, put your email in there so then we can send you your invoice. So let's go ahead and get started. we have the red, black, and green flag. This is a 2x3. So get this red, black, and green flag to put outside your house. Let people know what your flag is. We be seeing all these red, white, and blue. Don't even worry about it. Get you a red, black, and green. Red, black, and green flag is $14.99. It's $14.99, and you're gonna comment sold one, or just put in the comments you want the red, black, and green flag. Sold one, and it's $14.99. And next we got some posters. We got some political posters. Revolutionaries. We got Malcolm X. You're gonna comment sold two for $15 if you would like the Malcolm X poster. We have Patrice Lumumba. You're gonna comment sold 3, or just put the Patrice Lumumba poster in the comments for $15 if you would like to purchase it. And we got Fannie Lou Hamer, comments sold 4, or just put Fannie Lou poster, $15. We have the Marcus Mosiah Garvey, comments sold 5. Uhuru Michelle, we got you. Sold 5. This one is $15 also, or just put Marcus Garvey poster. And he got Michelle down for a flag. Yep. And somebody, I think it was the ODC, mentioned Ella Baker earlier. Ella Baker poster, you can comment sold 6 for $15 also, or just put Ella Baker poster. Our comrade Omawali K. Fing, African People's Socialist Party veteran. K. Fing, if you would like K. Fing's poster, you can comment sold 7 for $15. Yesterday is also getting a flag. Sold 7, $15, or just put K. Fing poster, and we got you. We want to raise up our comrade Omawali K. Fing, who you'll hear more about in the Southern Regional Reports presentation, and as well as the active presentation. And we have Kwame Nkrumah. This one is also $15, sold 8. So 9 for Harriet Tubman. So 9 for Harriet Tubman, or Harriet Tubman poster, also $15. Black backpacks. Okay, Kate, we're gonna show some book bags in just a minute. We got Huey P. Newton. You're gonna comment sold 9, or Huey P. poster for $15. And I want to show this one, and I'll move on. Fred Hampton is Fred Hampton poster. This talks about his assassination. But Fred Hampton poster, you can comment sold 10. Sold 10. This one is also $15. Sold 10. Or you can just comment Fred Hampton poster. All right. So let's get into these buttons. Marcelo was talking about buttons. But wait till y'all see these. Woo! Okay, so I'm gonna show y'all the ones that you may have seen before. If you want the red, black, and green button, this one is $3. $3. You're gonna comment sold 11, or put red, black, and green Africa button, or red, black, and green button. Then we have the larger size ones, the Black Power fist. You can comment sold 12, sold 12 for $5, sold 12 for $5. And let's see, y'all seen the Malcolm X one. If you want the Malcolm X button, you just comment Malcolm X button, or put sold 13, sold 13 for $5. Okay, now we got some new ones. Okay, I'm gonna say the best for last. Okay, so we have Assata Shakur. This is our newest button. Y'all the first ones to see it for the plenary. So the Assata Shakur button is also $5. You can comment sold 14, or just put Assata button. It is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. Yo, we're not out here just be fighting for the sake of fighting. We out here trying to win, trying to get free. So get you an Assata button, put it on your jacket like mozzarella. And okay, the best for last. Y'all look at this button. Can y'all see it? Can y'all see it? Who is that? First person to comment who it is. I mean, y'all should know this. Comment sold 15. But the first person to say who is on this button, you can get it for free. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Tell everybody. Marcelo, you be cheating. Marcelo be cheating. I swear I didn't show him, y'all. Okay, if you want the chairman's button, comment sold. I'm not even gonna lie, this is my first time seeing it. So that's why I'm a little bit excited. But this one is mine, but we got more. So comment sold 15 for the chairman button, $5. Marcelo's gonna get one for free, I guess. So let's keep going. All right, so we have this beautiful choker. Fofi was chit-chatting saying she wanted, but she was playing, so I'm showing it to y'all. Fofi, if you're on, you better claim it. This gold Africa choker. Comment sold 16 or put gold Africa choker. This one is $36. $36. Comment sold 16. Sold 16. Okay. And let's get to some earrings. If y'all was admiring DC Ona's earrings earlier, we got you. We got you. You don't gotta just admire. You can, you could try to have that swag. You try to match her swag if you want. If you that bold, you could try. Comment sold 17 for $16.99 for the silver carry shell earrings. Sold 17 for $16.99. Or put silver carry earrings, and we got you. Let's see. Let's do the gold gentleman the copper gentleman for $16.99. Comment sold 18. Sold 18, or just put copper gentleman earring. Brothers. I know y'all like, I can't even know with no earrings. All right, so we have this bronze African mask necklace, and the strap can be adjusted. It doesn't have to be short like a choker. You can wear it long, fellas. It's $19.99. Comment sold 19. Sold 19. Over Malika, we got you. Sold 19.
Malika, what was 18?
Malika 18 was the gentleman earrings.
Okay, gentleman earrings.
And we also have the Africa earrings in copper. These are also $16.99. You can comment sold 20, sold to 0, $16.99 for the copper Africa earrings. And timekeeper, make sure you keep me on point because I'll be here all day trying to say everything on this table. So let me know when we get to like 5 minutes. If I'm not already there, let me know in like 2 minutes, please. Okay, so we have this. Let's get into, shout out to one of our consigners in Ghana that should be viewing, William Segbedzi. Well, maybe not now, it's a little bit late there. Okay, Denzel, we got you. Denzel wants the Malcolm and Asada button. So the Kente print rope necklace. Fofi is commenting. It's on the Facebook. I can't see it right now, but I'm pretty sure it's that necklace. The Kente print rope Ghanaian necklace or choker. You can comment sold 21, sold to one for $25. Sold 21 for $25. And then we also have another, maybe you don't like the loud Kente colors, or maybe you do, but if you don't, we also have in a little bit more like earth tone, this tan, black, and cream. Ghanaian Ankara print choker, also $25. Comment sold 22, or just put tan rope necklace. So 22, $25. And then we got some beaded ones. So we have this pink, black, and white Ghanaian choker. We got, this is bone here and leather. You can comment sold 22, sold 22, sold 23, I'm sorry, sold 23, or put pink beaded Ghanaian necklace for 25, or I'm sorry, just kidding. Just playing, I'm just playing. For $55. Y'all was gonna steal this. Right. I was gonna get beat out of this, y'all. Okay, $55. And we also have it in baby blue with some multicolored beads as well. And the green leather, again, we still have the bone right here. Very, very beautiful piece. Also from our consignor in Ghana. $55. You can comment sold 24. Sold 24. Y'all talk to me. Yeah, tell me what you want to see. This your institution, comrades. This y'all store. So you just tell me where you want to go in the store, and I'm gonna take a camera.
True. Okay, 5 minutes left.
Oh, thank you, comrade Marissa. All right, Kmu, this is my last necklace I'm gonna show. Unless somebody else say something, I'm gonna show you the book bags, Kmu. Buttons. Okay, comrade coach, that was all the buttons that we have, but we'll get more soon. So, okay, so this orange beaded Ghanaian necklace is $46. $46. Yes, Haley, you want this, don't you, girl? $46. You're gonna comment sold 26. Sold 26 if you would like that one. And now let's get into these book bags. Kmu said you want black. All right, so we have the Gentleman book bags with this is the leather with the Kente print on it. And the leather with Kente print book bags are $45. You can comment sold 26 or put black leather book bag. Sold 26 and it's $45. $45.
Let's show some more.
Denzel said book bags. He said what?
Yeah, he got that one.
Oh, he got that one.
one.
Dang, K-Moo, you getting beat. Okay, so we do have another black one is our mud cloth book bag. This mud cloth, so we have leather in the front, and then mud cloth on the sides, on the top and sides. Also from Ghana, you can comment sold 28, or put black mud cloth book bag. And this one is $58, sold 28 or black mud cloth book bag. Then we have the green leather book bag with the kente print on it. This is the Sankofa bird. Also $45, comment sold 29 or put green leather book bag, $45. And then we have the yellow book bag. This symbol means warrior, if I'm not mistaken. And this one is also $45. Just comment yellow book bag if this is one you would like to purchase. And remember, the first person to comment is the first person that gets it. And then we have also have it in red. If you like this one, $45, just comment sold red book bag. And let's see, I can't see the comments on my laptop.
Okay, I got it. Go ahead.
And then so we have t-shirts. Okay, let's move y'all over here. Marissa, let me know when we got 1 minute left. And all right, so let's start with this hoodie. We got a white hoodie with the card print on it. This hoodie is $50, and it is a size medium. Comment sold 30, sold 30. And let's see, and we have t-shirts. Shout out to the Southern Regional Committee of the African People's Socialist Party and a Freedom Line tees. You can get, if you don't have a Fight for Freedom t-shirt yet, you need one. You need to support your party and support your institutions. And Zelle, get your Fight for Freedom t-shirts, Fight for Freedom t-shirt with Zelle for $20. Just comment sold 35. Doesn't matter what size you need. If you want it in black or white, just comment sold 35 with your size and the color that you want. And so here it is in black. Need to get you one. Stop playing. And then we have the People's War Against the Colonial Virus. If you don't have this one yet, you need it too. Also, Freedom Line tees, $20. Comment sold 36. This one only comes in black though. Comment sold 36 and put your size. And the resources for those t-shirts go to the Southern Regional Committee, as well as Zelle Consignment. And Zelle Consignment goes to ABDEP. And so the Fight for Freedom jacket or vest, this is a size medium. This is a medium.
Actually, that's a large.
This is a large.
Extra large. That fits me.
Oh, okay. I just lied. This is an extra large. This is an extra large Fight for Freedom. And this one is 25. You're going to comment sold 36. Sold 36.
Uhuru, 1 minute.
Uhuru. And then we also have it in dark. You can comment sold 37. I'm sorry. Put sold 38 for the light one and sold 37 for the dark one. The dark one is a size small but can fit a medium. And then we got the long sleeve jacket. This one is 25 also. Comment sold 39. And then we got some dashikis. Okay, this one is $40 for the black and white batik dashiki. What is this, an extra large? Yeah. This is an extra large, and we got the embroidery, on the neck. So, brother comrades or sister comrades, comment sold 40 for $40 for the black and white batik dashiki. Okay. And then we got, we have the small dashiki. This one is $40 from Senegal. This one is purple, yellow, gray, and black. Comment sold 41. And the fanny pack, last item we're gonna show is the fanny pack, the Kente print fanny pack. This one is $21. We'll do it 20 tonight for the plenary, $20 for the Kente print fanny pack, $20. Comment sold 45. Sold 45 for the Kente print fanny pack. And okay, thank you so much everybody for shopping with us. And now we're going to transition back. So Uhuru Masamela, how does Nzele do? How did we do?
Uhuru,
Masamela, yeah.
Uhuru, yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to start my video. Sorry, Uhuru, yeah. Y'all did well. Y'all did well. You know, the one thing I say, because I think one of the first things y'all got out of me, when I remember I bought from y'all at the 2019 Impedum convention, I bought a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things I got from y'all and I still love is the messenger bag. So as much as possible, I try to show people that messenger bag so that they can get one for themselves. So is there any way you could give out the number for that messenger bag, just in case people want that messenger bag? If so, we're going to put that in the comments. But nevertheless, I want to thank you all for. I want to go ahead and thank you all for that. Now let's pass it back to Kundai.
Uhuru. All right. Allow me to catch my breath. Okay, so yes, don't forget to register. Dr. Aisha Fields, who's our international director, is reminding you guys to register for the items that you have just purchased. And you can go to the website if you want the leather bag. And so let's see. So now let's move to, give me 1 second. Okay, so now we will move to the, where do we register with the link? Okay. All right. So, my computer is frozen. Matsamela, help me out here. I think we're moving to the closing.
Uhuru, yeah. So now let's go on and welcome back Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who's going to present us with his summation for such an action-packed day, and I can't wait for tomorrow. But Chairman's going to come together with the summation.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, Africa. I want to first express my real appreciation for the leaders of this process for our plenary on today. And it has been an extraordinary, really rich process that we have dealt with. We've exposed the party and its various component parts as it exists throughout the world to everybody. We've hopefully helped all Africans and others to see what a real comprehensive revolutionary approach to liberation looks like. And hopefully we helped others to understand what it will take to destroy an imperialist socialist system, a colonial capitalist social system that bleeds the rest of the world for benefit of a handful of people on the planet Earth. I want to express my appreciation for everybody for the participation that we had with dealing with the political report. I was quite pleased to be able to do it. I was shocked that I was able to read the report so quickly. And I want to give a real statement of appreciation to Comrade Deputy Chair Onazene Ishatella, whose role in the party has been talked about, will be talked about more. You'll be hearing a report from her coming up soon, but she has brought just tremendous amount of creativity as well into the party process and bears essential responsibility for what we've done with the From Love to Revolution. And something that I never would have considered doing, and perhaps that's true of most of the men. But I think that most of the comrade men in the party really appreciated having this opportunity to be human. And so I again want to express my appreciation to Comrade Deputy Chair Onazene Ishatella, and to say unequivocally, I didn't say it that effectively and that well earlier on today, that I truly and deeply and dearly love this incredible woman. this incredible manifestation of African womanhood, African leadership. And I appreciate having an opportunity in this process to say that. And I think this is also part of the influence of African women in general, but certainly Comrade Deputy Chair Onozene Ishatella played an important role for making it happen in this plenary process, and I appreciate that. I appreciate Deputy Chair Onozene Ishatella. I love you, and I want to go ahead and say that I think the political report took up most of today. We have some very other exciting events happening. Comrade Wabusa, this video that he did with the introduction in both French and Lingala, who is an incredible cultural worker, Comrade Ilikia Ngoma, and her song, the African Nation Fight Song, which is an African internationalist expression of revolutionary enthusiasm and fervor. That is something that always is so moving to us. And all of what we've done on today contributes to really helping the emergence and consolidation of African internationalist unity, the African nation being able to see itself finally in whole, not just experiencing ourselves where we have been dispersed or locked by colonial capitalism. So with that, comrades, I just want to say Izwe Lake to Africa, which is a call and response slogan. And Izwe Lake to simply means the land is ours, and Africa identifies that land. When we say Izwe Lake to, we're saying the land is ours. We say Africa, we say what land, and together that means Africa is our land. And if you are not African, you can say Izwe Le Nu, Izwe Le Tu Africa. I want to just call on everybody to recognize the significance of this plenary. We call on African workers of the world to unite and organize and vanguard up. Uhuru.
Uhuru, vanguard up. Thank you so much, Chairman, for that summation and just an incredible day one in reviewing of the political report. Okay, so we're yeah, I hope everybody is fired up from the political report and the viewing from today, and hope that you all come back tomorrow to for day two. And so this is, you know, it's been an amazing day, and salute to all the people of the African People's Socialist Party in Africa, Europe, US, Caribbean, and in some places we know it's very late or very early, maybe where Esji Luwezi is. And so but we are the vanguard, and you know, this is what it means to build our own, you know, to build a new social system, a new world. So like the chairman said, I want to if people can come off of mute, or maybe at least just our co-host, and you know, just reiterate what the chairman said. So Izwe to
Africa.
Africa.
Izwe
to
Vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
Good. Okay, now don't go anywhere. I need to make sure y'all is awake so we can do these announcements real quick. Okay, so don't move. So, okay, so tomorrow morning we're going to begin at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so Masameli is going to be real early on the West Coast. Comrade Bakri, all y'all going to have to get up. What is that, at 5 a.m.? So 8 a.m. Eastern, we will start tomorrow. And our next announcement is AppDev's Black History Essay Contest. Submission is open and now until the 20th of February for ages 9 to 13. You can go to essaycontest.eventbrite.com, which we'll put in the chat, for more information. And also, AppDev's Project Black International COVID-19 Telehealth Program is offering free virtual appointments worldwide. You can go to developmentforafrica.org/telehealth, which we'll also put in the chat, to book an appointment today. And if you haven't set up your pledge yet to the Africans 1 billion strong, then please go to apspuhuru.org/pledge or call 727-821-66 if you have questions or need help. And on June 12th, the Reparations Legacy Project will hold a conference to win wealthy white people to pay reparations. You can find out more information by going to reparationslegacy.org. And on April 17th to 18th of this year, Uhuru Solidarity Movement will host its annual national convention, Make Wall Street Pay Reparations. You can find out more information about that convention by going to uhurusolidarity.org. And then on February 17th at 6 p.m. Central, you can tune into Reparations on the Ballot with Comrade Tachara Masimba and Herdoja Kalumbai Bentham. You can register for that event. Those are the two candidates that were spoken to earlier in St. Louis. So you can register for that by going to tinyurl.com/vote-uhuru. tinyurl.com/vote-uhuru, and we'll also make sure that's in the chat. And we want to register for the Black is Back Coalition's special webinar titled Fascism, Neoliberalism, and the Way Forward. This will take place on March 6th of this year at 12 p.m. Eastern. You can visit blackisbackcoalition.org for more information on that webinar. And we also want you to register for the Black is Back Coalition 5th Electoral Campaign School titled The Ballot and the Bullet, Now More Than Ever. The campaign for self-determination. This will take place on April 10th and 11th of this year at 10 a.m. Eastern. Also, you can go to blackisbackcoalition.org to find out more information for that event. And the Humble Sea Brewing and Uhuru Pies, and Uhuru means freedom, collaboration drops at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday, February 21st. You can contact Oakland at uhurupies.org for more information. Again, that's going to be Humble Sea Brewing and Uhuru Foods and Pies. If you want more information about that event on February 21st, contact Oakland at uhurupies.org for more information. Don't hesitate. Beer sells out in a few hours. Again, we would also like to thank the Malcolm X Center, WMXP Radio, 95.5, and Ifo Wangaza in North Carolina, who are simulcasting the plenary.
He's in South Carolina, Greensboro, South Carolina.
In South Carolina.
Via Mungaza. She's a SNCC veteran and really played an important role in the emergence of the Black Power movement in the 1960s that came from SNCC. You know, so she was part of the Atlanta Project. So she's a really important person, and South Carolina, yeah, played a really important role in facilitating our ability to get Black Power 96.3. Afia Mungaza. Yeah.
Uhuru, thank you for that intervention, Chairman Uhuru. So we really want to salute those comrades, that comrade, and that concludes our announcements for day one. And again, we really want to appreciate all the comrades that tuned in from all over the world, all the different time zones, for getting up early, staying up late. And we hope everybody comes back tomorrow. We know you're going to come back tomorrow because we know that you liked what you heard. We know that you want to be a part of this party, this movement, and building a new world that doesn't have to, you know, a world where a group of people doesn't have to exist at the expense of another group of people. And the Uhuru movement is leading that. The African People's Socialist Party is leading that. So we know we're going to see everybody tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So Massimo, you want to take us out with one more chant? And I want to salute our chairman again for the political report, and hope everybody pre-orders it and goes back and studies it and joins throughout this 4-day event.
Uhuru, vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
Vanguard up.
No compromise.
No surrender.
No surrender.
No compromise.
Izwe letu.
Africa.
Africa.
Izwe letu.
All right, now, Comrade Kundai, let's send them out together. Let's adjourn this day together. 1, 2, 3. Day 1 is now adjourned. Vanguard up, everybody.
Vanguard up.
Shut up.